Hey, Zaide here with another episode of DramaQuest. Joining me today is none other than the famous, excellent adventurer Quarken. Quarken is a longtime EverQuest hardcore raider. He was in Triality, he was in Realm of Insanity, and a number of other guilds. He's also really well known for his content creation. He had some amazing YouTube videos. He was the first player to solo Lord Nagafin and Lady Vox. Honestly, I could go on all day, but instead, I'll just pass it over to him. It's all yours, Quark.
What's up, Z?
Hey,
Nice to be here, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like I was telling you, I am happy to support anything that's EverQuest related that is like this, something outside of the game.
Yeah.
Seems to be more of that happening now.
Yes, finally. I think it's like a generational thing. I think the tools are more accessible. I remember you talking about when you made your first video that really popped off. You hosted it on your website because like YouTube didn't exist, and like your web admin was yelling at you, that kind of shit. Like,
yeah. So we had a that was with the Technoverse Nagafin video.
Yeah,
and we in the guild I was in at the time was Promethean Order, and we had a guy in there who worked for Yahoo. He was like a higher up in Yahoo, and he offered to host it for us.
Yeah.
Thinking that, he had unlimited bandwidth or whatever the perks are of being a higher up in Yahoo. And then
Right.
after a day or so, he had to come to us and he had to take the video down.
Right.
And he said, it's like, oh my God, something happened in China where they downloaded like 1 million times. The video got like 1 million downloads in China for some reason.
Shit.
Yeah, I know. There was all types of speculation about why that was, right down to like, well, they have a history. They like dragons in their old history. Maybe it has something to do with that. Some cultural like touchstone with the dragon. I don't know why, but it like blew up there and we crashed some servers in Yahoo or something, and then we had to get it mirrored at like oddcan.com and a couple other websites that don't probably exist anymore.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the community came around and supported us by mirroring it everywhere.
Can you walk us back in time and talk to us about how you first got started in EverQuest? Like, how'd you find out about it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I had a buddy who was big into Ultima Online, and we're going back, right, where there's even like multiplayer games weren't even staple, right?
Right.
Were like still mind blowing. Not everybody even knew about them. So I used to play a game called Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight.
Yeah, I know it.
Do you know Dark Forces? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like basically like Doom, but set in the Star Wars universe, right? So I was big into Dark Forces 2, and I used to do like a lot of modding and stuff, like build levels and skins and custom 3DO characters and stuff.
Nice.
And the PvP it was like a 4-person deathmatch style, kind of like first person shooter.
Yeah, like Quake.
Yeah, that was blowing my mind back then when I first saw that in like 97. That fucking blew my mind. So and this is probably in 1999. That's my dog drinking water. And and that was just like in 1999. I was still kind of hooked on that that whole thing. Like that whole concept was blowing my mind. So when my buddy like told me about Ultima, that was the first time I heard of any sort of like massive multiplayer sort of game. And I was like, he described a lot of things to me about dungeons and this kind of shit. And but the thing that really appealed to me was like he described that like one day he sat there and like chopped firewood for hours upon hours. And I was like, I don't know why to this day, but that sounded so fucking appealing,
Yeah.
I was like,
it's like so real.
Yeah, it was something about what it was really, honestly, it was like it just made me feel like it was a second life available somewhere on the internet where I could just like disappear into that. And I could do regular everyday shit and have a better existence as like some Black Knight chopping fucking firewood, rescuing friends in dungeons is. So I went to Electronics Boutique like that afternoon with him to go buy it, and I had my fucking hand like on the game, and some dude who was just in there as like a customer fucking grabs my hand, and he's like, "Don't get that game." He's like, "Get this game," and he handed me a box of it was like the Ruins of Connark expansion. And he's
man.
Yeah, he's like, this is the new game. And he was like on a cell phone, which is not that common back then. And he was like, I'm talking with my guild right now. he goes, the guys who fucking run the game, they're the shit. They just did some patch and we're going to kill some dragons tonight. I'd love to know who that dude was, but I'll never find out. But he must have been pretty high up because back then he was like talking about killing dragons and shit. So he must have been
Yeah, he'd be like 1%, right?
Yeah, he was he was definitely in the upper echelon of guilds, rating guilds at that time.
Probably just ran into Thought or somebody.
Yeah, and I was like, I always fantasize that some fighters of heaven fucking some dude like Thought or Tiggle or something.
Yeah, Tiggle.
Sure. But they intervened and I'm like, I was already having like, I didn't want to like I don't like to make impulse buys.
Yeah.
So I was like, this conflict, this Super Salad Ultima versus EverQuest, I was like, I just threw my hands up. I said, forget it. I'm not even getting anything. So I left, and then it was like months later. That was in the summertime. So this was like months later and around Christmas. And then I actually had a family member who was asking me what I wanted for Christmas. And I usually just don't put anything forward. But I was like, oh, there was this game, EverQuest. Like, if you want to grab that, that'd be shit. That'd be the shit. And then I got it. And then I think I, through some other Christmas gift, I had like a $15. I was just saying to my sister the other day, I was telling her about this. It's like a $15 like Visa gift card.
Yeah.
Back then, and I used that to sign up for the subscription because when I put the game in, it was like I wanted a monthly fee, which I had never heard of before. Not even the notion of that.
Yeah, it was like $9.99 back then.
Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, it was $10, and I didn't. I was young, like, and debit cards weren't even that common. We still paid with cash back then.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have one of those on hand, but I used that, and I was like, well, I'll just sign up with this fucking thing because I probably won't play this game for more than a month anyways.
Yeah.
And I remember reaching in that fucking box and getting that cloth map out.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, dude, I swear to you, I had installed many games up to that point in my life, right? When I pulled that fucking cloth map out, I fucking said to myself, I was like, this is going to be a different kind of gaming experience. I fucking felt that in my guts, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was a different kind of gaming experience because I logged in, made an Ixar Necromancer because I didn't know anything about the classes. Nothing looked right. I didn't never play D&D before. I didn't know what a fucking druid was.
Right.
But I remembered I heard Necromancer in like a song before. So I was like, I'll do that. And like a lizard guy looked cool.
Yeah.
So I did dope. That. Yeah, it was wicked dope. And then Cabalist, it was like dark in Cabalist. I fell off. I didn't know what was going on. My chat box is flying. I'm trying to like respond to people in chat. Everybody's like, seemingly ignoring me because they're all talking and shouting out of character. I'm like insane, by myself in West Cabalist or whatever, being like, somebody help me, guys.
Right.
What do I do?
How do I swim?
And I fell off in one of the canals immediately.
Yeah.
And I couldn't swim. I couldn't get out of the water. So I shut the game off and that was it. And then I was done with it. I was so frustrated. I was like, that was fucking stupid. What a waste of $10.
Right.
And then just like later, like a couple of days later or something, maybe a day or two later, I was telling my cousin about EverQuest the way my buddy was telling me about Ultima. I was talking about the game like I was enjoying it and playing it. You know? I was like, oh, it's a shit. It's like this open world and you could do all this shit. And it's like a second life, dude. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go fucking buy it. And I was like, nah, it actually kind of sucks. I was like, you shouldn't even get it. It was like, I was chatting. It doesn't make any sense. And I didn't understand anything. So he was like, well, he was driving, he's like, well, I'm going to an electronics boutique. I'm buying it. And you're going to fucking learn how to play with me. And I was like, all right. So we went back to his house. We got some food and we like read the manual out of the Cunark box, which is like this fucking thick. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We just read the whole thing about like how to fucking get food and when you see a body of water, sit on the edge and wait for a boat to show up and how to like loot corpses and all this shit. And I went back to my house and then we got on the telephone and tried to figure out how to play and unsuccessful. We made barbarians because they were like humans but bigger.
Right.
That was our fucking logic. They look like Braveheart. So we fucking made barbarians and then sat in Hallis trying to figure out how to attack each other for unsuccessfully for probably a half an hour, dude. We were on the book going like, it says fucking press this for auto attack. I have to target you first, like these discoveries. Oh wait, I'm not targeting you. And you target them, still can't attack them. It was so frustrating. I was like, see, this fucking game sucks. And then I accidentally targeted a sled dog and it fucking bit me. And then I
Nice.
was like this epiphany, like, oh, we don't kill each other. You know, I never played any game that wasn't like person versus person before, you know, like
Right.
player versus environment. So then that was it. So he ended up playing with me until like level 20, and then he kind of faded out. He still plays right now, though. I just talked to him the other day, and he had picked it back up like 3 months ago, you know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he didn't tell me about it quietly. He just fucking starts playing. He's got like 5 characters going.
There we go. What server is he on?
He's playing on Drinnel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where, I mean, that used to be Vazaelle, which merged into Malin, which
Yeah.
merged into Drinnel. So that was his home server, but I think he thought I still played there. But I'm on his Zegany now.
It's got to be hard. Like after a while away, you come back and you're like on a retail live server and just have 10,000 AAs, actually like 50,000 AAs.
I mean, you know, I kind of retired from playing, like actively raiding and staying up to date with my character, like in 2017 ish, 2018 ish.
Mm-hmm.
And even I've gone back and played a little bit, some expansions and stuff. Like usually around like the holidays, I'll go back and start getting back into it, doing the anniversary quests and shit.
Yeah.
And even I'm like, I get like there's so many AAs and abilities and fucking items and shit, like essential items and quests you have to have done up to that point. That
Right.
it puts me off. Like it overwhelms me to the point where I'm like, it's gonna take me forever to catch up. Fuck it, I'm going back to P99.
Right. Got to come to the dark side on TLP, man.
You know, that was Triality's like recent, you know, adventure was on one of the TLPs. So, and which came about because I started playing on P99, and I was trying to get my homeboy Dalmoth to play with me, and he was like in Discord chatting with me, and he was like, no, and then Yarg actually started playing with me first, and then Dalmoth started playing with me first, and then Yarg played, and then it just snowballed. We started getting all old Triality people were hopping on P99.
You
And
guys
then
made that guild Merc, right?
yeah, we were rolling as Merc, you know, which is funny. We didn't want to like tarnish the Triality name by having like a soft core fucking raiding guild on P99. We were like, let's not be Triality because we're going to be fucking soft core,
Yeah.
you know, software filthy casuals. And then, yeah, it went great. It was super. We leveled to 50. We had a fucking blast just hanging out again, like how EverQuest is supposed to be.
Right.
A couple pals just fucking chilling and doing whatever we wanted. And then somebody got the notion to join a raiding guild again. And we joined up with one of the raiding guilds on 99. And the first raid was like a Vox raid. And we were like waiting for it to spawn. And I was like streaming because at that time I was doing that social experiment of streaming every minute that I'm on EverQuest, you know?
Yeah.
No matter what, just really like candid. I wanted to do like a fucking, you know, like a Truman Show of EverQuest leveling. And
I really enjoyed it.
did you?
Yeah, I was
So
watching all the time.
you must be the 2 views on all those
Right.
videos.
I remember
Nobody else enjoyed it, is what I'm trying to say.
I was talking to you, man, and you're like, "Hey, look, it's Zaide, my number one super fan," and I was like, "Oh God."
You're my number only one super fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody was tuning into that stream. I thought it was going to be this like really like this cool idea, which maybe will be. History will prove it was a cool idea, but at the time nobody was into it, and still nobody was feeling it. 189 episodes of nothing.
Yeah, well, it's good to have it documented, but yeah, it's tough on Twitch. So how did that Vox raid go?
Well, the Vox raid didn't go because the 5 minutes that I was sitting at the zone, I was like, one of the officers was like, "Hey, somebody says you're streaming." I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "You got to shut that down, man." And I was like, "This is fucking 20-year-old content, bro. Like, give me a fucking break." Everybody knows we're sitting in permafrost. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? So I literally logged out, dude. I camped out, and never came back.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, it really sucks because I was like enjoying just playing with my friends, and I got talked into being like, you know, dude, it's in our blood, man. We're just too competitive. We're gonna want to get epics. We're gonna want to get fucking gear. We're gonna want. I was like, yeah, no, you're right. And this was like on Teal or Green or whatever, one of the new servers. You know, I can't remember if it was before or after they merged. So we were trying to stay like we were on the wave of it all. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we were pretty early hitting 50. Like we got started on it like 2 days after launch, so we were trying to like stay ahead of the team, stay ahead of it, and yeah. And then they all kind of played for a little bit, but then that's when the Aradoon came out, the TLP,
Yeah.
and then all of that whole group of players went there into the TLP
You
experience.
you can rate a lot more casually, you know what I mean, with instances and stuff. Now, the problem with P99 is like you have 10 guilds worth of hardcore players
Mm-hmm.
and it's all on one server. Like back in the day, you'd have like 2 competitive guilds on a server maybe.
Sure.
It's just too much. Like you have to get way too sweaty.
Yeah, it's a lot of poop socking. Trying to,
Yeah.
as eventually it's a big funnel right to NTOV and sleepers.
Right.
You're all gonna end up there eventually,
Yeah.
and like sharing that spawn cycle sucks. But I was kind of down for it, to be honest. Like instancing doesn't tickle my bits.
Gotcha.
I'm down with the bat phone at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm down with the fucking getting ran over by another guild so they can steal your spawn. I love that shit.
It is fun. It is fun. I just wish the timers weren't 24 hours long. You know what I mean? The window, so you have to sit there like that.
Oh yeah. They plus or minus 12s.
Yeah, the poop socking is the worst part.
Yeah. I would never do the poop socking, but I would like to get the call. I'll just show up and do the raid.
Yeah.
But I got to sit there and fucking watch a spawn point.
Yeah.
But I'm
So
bougie like that now.
once you got your feet under you with EverQuest in the beginning, how was that leveling process? How long did it take you to get to 50 or I guess 60?
I'm just finding out I'm just finding out now that it took me about 8 months to get to 60.
It's a big time investment. What kind of like how many hours would you put in on a given day?
Shit, dude, I was on 20 as many hours as I could possibly be. So and I was like 20 years old then, so I was sleeping 1 hour a night just to fucking be able to go to school, go to work, get home, play EverQuest, literally and just catch enough sleep to not die. I guess, then hit the bus and do it all over again in the morning. But my playtime's high right now, and I haven't played in 6 years. I think my playtime's over 1,000 days. Averages out to about 8 hours a day from the time that I made the character. You'd have to play 8 hours a day every day till today in order to get that playtime, and I haven't played in fucking 7 years.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it was heavy.
Super heavy.
Yeah.
And I started on Vazaelle, the server, the Forgotten server. It happened to open on December 22nd, and I started playing on December 27th. And I chose it on the server list at random because I didn't know what the fuck I was picking.
Right.
So I just happened to start in a server where everybody was just starting to get going. So
That's
had this. It was perfect because I had this unique experience of if I had started playing EverQuest the first time and there was already level 60s and shit and an established economy and a raid environment, it probably would have been a whole different experience than, sort of leveling up with everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm just competitive. So when I was in there, after I got the hang of the game, like you were asking, probably around like level 15, I already immediately got it in my mind that I wanted to be the first barbarian to 60 or whatever. Or the first warrior or something, because I knew everybody that was playing. I knew everybody that was running around Everfrost, and I knew that there was nobody there was a couple people within 3 levels of me, 5 levels of me, but me and my cousin, like I was telling you about, we were on a single-minded mission to just make a name for ourselves.
Gotcha. So back then, you just you would log in. I guess you'd probably make friends with whoever didn't suck in the groups you formed, and then try to keep linking up with them. Or
I guess I didn't know who sucked or didn't suck. To be honest, I probably sucked more than anybody else in the group.
Yeah,
I was completely
stealing for warrior is pretty low. So
yeah, I know. If I just do well, that's funny because I didn't learn how to mash the taunt button until I was about level 20.
Right.
And someone was someone at high pass explain my class to me.
Yeah.
And I was in my mind, I was like, why the fuck would I want something to hit me? And I was bragging, in the group, I was like, oh shit, my taunt skill's 2 now. 3,
nice.
4. I was like, and they're probably like, oh my God, this fucking kid. We get this warrior and he's just skilling up taunt now. But yeah, that was when that happened. But I wish I could go back, dude. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
They really got the hooks in me deep, dude.
That grouping game experience with EverQuest is where the magic is. Yeah. That's the best part.
And I you probably if you follow my Instagram, you see like there's people in those early screenshots when in my teens and 20s and stuff who I mentioned they were there when I was level 60 and in the top rating guilds on the server. There was like these same people that I grinded with then
Yeah,
still made it to the end, like the graduating class of Vazaelle still
that's
stuck
cool.
together. Yeah, it was really. And it's only looking back now that I'm like, oh shit, that dude was in my experience group back in High Pass when we were in our 20s and this kind of thing.
So I check out your Instagram all the time, and if you're listening to this now, you should check out Quarken's Instagram. We'll put a link in the video description here. But I mean, it is insane. You'll post all these screenshots, and then you have like a photographic memory of what happened 20 years ago, or I guess 25 years ago now. I don't know how you do it,
I
but
don't
it
either.
tells a story, a really clear story, almost day by day of your progress, which is really amazing.
Yeah, it's working out the way I kind of wanted it to when I started this thing. I was like, I happen to be like, I had this wave of nostalgia sort of hit me
Mhm.
before I started this page. And I was just trying to get all my screenshots in one place from all these different hard drives and shit. And and I started looking at them. This was like in November of last year. And I noticed the first one was on January. And I was just looking at these old screenshots when with the old UI, like the original UI, and some of like these little nuances of EverQuest that I think a lot of people would appreciate for who played back then.
Yeah,
And I love when I stumble upon old screenshots from somebody else's, some random on Google Images or something. I save them. I fucking love them.
yeah,
Yeah, just seeing this random old shit. So I have so many cool screenshots from things in EverQuest, like Halloween events back in 2001, which you'll see like in October, you'll see obviously, but
yeah,
Project M, if you remember that, when you could play
yep,
as like an NPC. I have
yeah,
all screenshots from all this shit because I did it all back then, and I kind of wanted to share it, but I have 1,000 screenshots from 2001 alone. So it's
that's
like,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't know really how to share it all, so I kind of came up with this idea of like sharing it in real time, and then it's sort of just like I really just wanted to share the screenshot and just give a little blurb about what was happening to put it in context.
Yeah,
And then I started getting fucking really nostalgic as I was like typing, and I really wanted to get because I put some stuff out there like little blurbs and people would really connect with it, and they would say like, "Oh, I remember doing that," or I forgot about doing that back in the day. And oh, you're making me feel so nostalgic in this shit. So then I was like, you know what? I should really feel like backfill this shit with where I was at, how I was feeling, what the impression of the game was making on me at the time,
right.
like the significance of EverQuest. And ever since then, it's really taken off. People are really connecting with it, and it like fills me with such joy when somebody's says like it reminds them of something they'd forgotten. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's priceless.
I mean, I think it's amazing. I think when you're done with it, you should take it all and stitch together as a book.
Shit, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about doing like just putting a web sort of repository of all my shit on like a domain, Quarken dot whatever the fuck.
No, it should be a book, Quarken's Excellent Adventure.
Maybe. I don't know.
You're a
Maybe an ebook.
talented writer too, because like I can feel myself back in my room playing EverQuest when I read. You're not just like spitting random facts. Like I see the Mountain Dew in my hand. You know what I mean? I feel that dim light in my bedroom.
I hope so.
Um, it brings it all back to me. It's really incredible.
That gives me so much fucking joy, dude.
Yeah.
Hearing that. Because when I can escape into my mind and have those moments, it's like emotional
Yeah.
to me.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
know what
There's
I
so
mean?
much wrapped up in there. Even like you'll hear, I'm sure this happens to you. You hear a song that you listened to back when you used to play all the time back then,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like boom, you're back in high keep all of a sudden, right? Farming goblins just because of that
Yeah.
song.
No shit. So and I can tell you right now, the Gorillas' first album came out around that time.
Yeah.
And I remember listening, and that whole album, I'll hear songs from it at random, and it's like this Pavlovian sort of like response, of memory just
Right.
kicks in. Or like Guar's Ragnarok album was the other album that I used to listen to all the time back then, and it would it brings me right back. I can like there'll be like a gorilla song that boom kicks in, and then I'm back in Lake of Omen,
Right.
trying to like it's just I love it. I love it. And I don't know, man. I mean, there was like so much tied up in my, like, I don't think I was playing EverQuest for a game. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was definitely playing it for like an escape,
Oh
because
yeah.
life at the time was kind of like, so, you know what I mean? If I could just bury myself into something and never go outside, I was like all about it, you know?
It doesn't take long before you're doing it because that's where all your friends are. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
your social experience is the game.
I had a really like a big group of friends growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have this group of friends, and they haven't gone anywhere, you know?
That's good.
But we used to always hang out. And then when I started playing this game, they couldn't wrap their heads around it, you know?
Mm.
So they would just come over and like, they'd always be like, come on, let's go out. And we used to just go and drink coffee or go drink in the woods or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Hang out, just smoke cigarettes and shoot the shit. And I stopped showing up to all that after doing it my whole life, you know,
yeah.
my whole life as a teenager. And,
Right.
and, they would just show up with like a pack of cigarettes, a Diet Coke, and just to check on me really, and just make sure I was doing all right.
You're like,
And then
sorry,
try
man, I
to
got to camp at Jugs, dude. I got this group.
they would try to get me out of the house before they left. I'd be like, no, I'm good. Like, all right. But, you know, when I finally emerged from my bedroom after about 10 years of that,
Yeah,
they were still there to chill. So
that's awesome.
they waited for me.
So when you finally got to those upper levels 50, 60, what was the dominant guild on Vazaelle at the time?
So the dominant guild on Vazaelle since day one was In Virtue, right? They were, I think they came from Moral Thule. They were,
Mhm.
they were playing EverQuest on that. They were a collective of competitive gamers who played StarCraft. And when EverQuest was the new hotness and StarCraft was now the old and busted, they all came to EQ. I think they played on Moral Thule.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And when Vazaelle popped open, they came here with a single purpose in mind, which was to be the dominant guild on the server, you know?
Right, they were organized and ready.
Oh, yeah. And they hit the ground running. And it's funny, it's like they were so like in a vacuum of success that you didn't even see them on the server. You know, they
Hmm.
fucking blew everybody away, and they were, you know, probably 15 levels ahead of the rest of us who were
Wow.
pretty much, you know, I didn't even hear about In Virtue or know about any of them until until I joined my first raiding guild. And then, you know, I would hear about In Virtue being the worst
Right, because
kind
the
of
top guild
people
is
ever.
always
Yeah.
top guild is always the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. I have a screenshot that I'm going to be posting probably in the next few days that is somebody asking me. So I joined the Endless was the name of the guild that I
Right.
joined. It was my first raiding guild. And when they ended up breaking up, you know, I have a screenshot that I'm going to share, which really puts this whole In Virtue thing into context.
Yeah.
It's somebody going like sending me a tell being like, so I wonder where you're going to go, like smiley face, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, probably IV. Wait, at least I'm being honest about it, you know, like
Right.
the whole vibe was like very accusatory, you know?
I know how that goes because like you just have so much enmity with them. You hate your guild hates their guild, and then like, well,
The whole
there's nowhere else
server
to go
hated the
now.
guild.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody who's not in one of those guilds hates that guild.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
why did the Endless break up?
well, so the Endless was a collective of friends from Hawaii, and
Mm.
I think they just made the guild for themselves to play, you know, and
Yeah.
they had played before too on another server. I don't know which, but they came to Vazaelle with the same like let's start from day one kind of attitude, and you know, they were good players. They were really good players. This like group of friends. So as they like sort of got on in levels, they hosted some open raids, and I had an almost near miss on joining one of their raids.
Almost missed that Nagafin raid.
Yeah, I fucking was. I'll never forget the feeling of when I got there. I prepped for it. I bought the fucking resist gear from their enchanter that was making it in Freeport that day, and I showed up. And this is all just through word of mouth from somebody who did talk to their officers, you know. And
Right.
he was telling me like, "Nah, you just come along. It's fine, bro." You know what I mean? And I was
Yeah.
like, "All right." I never talked to anybody official about it. And they were like, when I showed up, they're like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I was like, you
Right.
know, and they were like, yeah, no, we're full up, bro. And I was like, fuck. I'll never forget the feeling of walking back over Lava Storm. I was just like running out of there towards East Commonlands or something. so with such a fucking little kid, like, fine, I'm gonna play with you guys anyways attitude, you
Right.
know? And I literally, like, my heart was crushed. I wanted to go on this raid so bad. I was like, literally, like, you know what? Actually, fuck this game. Fuck everybody who plays it. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, I was so scarred emotionally in that moment. And then when the dude was like, send me a towel, I was like, just about to hit EC or Nectulus Forest. And he was like, actually, you want to come back? I was like, cool, man, I'll come right now. I feel like my whole attitude, like, turned back.
That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah. And then I fucking brought the raid to a screeching halt by getting stuck behind a fire pot. And I was like, at that point, I just wanted to tag along and not be a problem,
Right.
you know? And then I fucking got stuck behind one of the fire pots in the fire giant's lair. And the whole raid was like staring at me as I was trying to free myself. They had to get a shaman in the group to shrink me and get me out and all this shit.
That's so funny.
I was like in my bedroom, you know, sweating bullets, like so embarrassed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so fucking embarrassed. But that moment with the fire pot was sort of, I guess they grew a liking to my buffoonish newbiness.
Yeah.
And kept me around for, I don't know, some sort of fucking newbie mascot.
That's awesome.
And I ended up just picking up the ropes, learning the ropes. But
so you guys killed Nagafen, no problem?
Well, we killed him. Yeah, we killed him that day. It was like pretty easy, and I was like immediately in love with the whole notion of raiding. You know what I mean? This like, it was like
logging out the chat server while you're on.
It was like a fucking, like, yeah, it was like a factory line of professionalism in EverQuest. You know, like, you stand in this line, we debuff you, we junk buff you, and then we give you good buffs. Log out to chat. We'll be back in, like, in sync, you know? And then, like, I was so impressed by all that. And seeing a dragon for the first time, just like, you know, I was in awe of that shit, man. You know what I mean? And I'll never, I remember that raid, like, you know, like any other, like, I'll never forget it. That was 20 years ago. And I can remember almost like beat for beat that whole fucking everything. How, like, we pulled them, who engaged them, how I felt fighting them, like attacking him, how many times I got feared, like, you know, should I taunt, should I not taunt, what the fuck am I supposed to do, like, you know? And then at the end I taunted, he clawed me once, and I just fucking backed away, like, okay, that's enough, I did my part.
Right. You got one in.
Yeah, I got one in. I let him hit me once. And I was fucking hooked, man. There was no way I was on a path right after that to fucking hardcore raiding. But so I raided with them for a month, you know, and we did Plane of Fear, Plane of Hate, Nagafen, Vox. And when we started getting the Kunark dragons in epic raids, it started to get a little hard. You know, things started to get challenging. So Severus was a fucking tough fight for us, you know?
Yeah.
We came up with that plan. Apparently they still use it in TLPs and stuff, where you use a bark potion to root your shit in place, you know, because we were too low level to even be fighting him at the time. We were like in our early to mid 50s, so we were just getting feared all over the fucking place. So we and I remember In Virtue chirping us on the boards for that, like making fun of us for using bark potions to stick our feet to the ground. We had no business fighting the dragons. They were like, you have to use fucking bark potions to beat them. And then we did like a 17-hour Plane of Sky raid. Well, I had a whole fucking house party going on here. My sister had planned. That's when I knew I was in on the raid game, when we had like 40 to 60 people here with like a whole keg party. And I fucking locked my bedroom door and I stayed inside here on a 17-hour Plane of Sky raid so I could get my Spearrock Wingblade.
Right. Yeah.
It was like just this wicked good vibe in that guild, but we ended up breaking up because it like sort of came out that there was a lot of the officers and the most vocal like leadership in the guild was also quietly two boxing, like half the fucking raid force, you know. Every single one of them was like, and they were taking loot like it was
double loot.
Yeah, like, you know, and there was like one or two of them that was vocal about like a secondary character, and people were pretty cool with them, just like, you know, putting gear on them and that. But some of them were just like quietly boxing extra characters and they would have conversation with themselves in group chat, just to like try to sell the idea that these were different people, unique people. And they were all getting their epics and shit before everybody else, and that caused a whole bunch of bullshit, which, I just wanted to get my epic, but I didn't care who else got it. I just wanted to get mine, and that's
Right.
another story that's coming up on Instagram. There, you're gonna fucking enjoy.
I can't wait.
Yeah, because if you're following the timeline now, we're about to break up, but I still don't have my epic, so we're gonna try to squeeze it in.
So the not so endless, it's a lot easier to fake that kind of thing back then because no one was really using voice, right? It was
Right?
all in game text.
Yeah, you couldn't do that now. I
Yeah.
bet you the ratio of female characters played by dudes is pretty dropped off too.
Oh yeah,
That
definitely.
whole cell,
Oh yeah.
you know.
If it's a
There's a,
female character model and they don't use voice, you're like, it's a dude.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I used to say in Triality, it's like I don't believe it until I'm wrist deep in it.
You're right. It's I mean, it's crazy the different reactions that people have towards women in the game. Like my wife streamed, I think for like 2 days on
Yeah,
a cleric, and I come over and she's got like a full set of best in slot gear that people are just handing her.
of
I'm like,
course.
what is this shit?
I
But yeah, that's like,
have
a
a
tale old
screenshot.
as time.
I have a screenshot of my cousin that I started playing with, sending me to tell Hatch in that plan. Dude, we should play a female character. We should put one out there just so people give it shit. And I was
Yeah.
like, nah, people don't do that.
Oh
They
yeah.
do. Oh, they do.
Yeah. People are always simping.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they can't
So
get enough of that pixel pussy.
right. So endless breaks up and now
Yep.
do you end up joining IV?
Yeah, so the Endless broke up, and I was pretty quick to I took a couple weeks to mourn it and flirt with some other guilds. There was a Euro guild in the server. I raided with them for a couple days. Or I guessed it on a couple of their raids. I don't want to make it seem like I was jumping right into Virtue. You know what I mean? I still wanted to preserve my integrity.
You had to have a cooldown period back then.
Yeah, for
This wasn't
sure.
a rebound guild.
Yeah, yeah. Couple of rebound raids,
Yeah.
and then me and my best friend in EverQuest, this dude Brack, who is a barbarian shaman with me, and him and I joined IV together. And shit, dude. After that, when I joined IV, that was it. I was on that path forever because they
Now,
were they were a hardcore raiding guild.
how different was it going from raiding with Endless to raiding with IV?
I mean, I saw it night and day on that Catholic Fool raid I just posted about.
Yeah.
This is on July 26th. It was like after we had that 100-person Zerg Fest get stomped into the ground. I guessed it at their raid right after, and it was like a whole different world. I walked into their encampment, and fucking buffed head to toe with all the buffs I needed without sending a single tell. And they were like, put me in a group that was a group with healers.
Right.
Wasn't always a luxury I got to enjoy in the Endless, but they just knew how to raid it. It was like watching them take down Kazakh Thul with precision, 0 deaths except for one wizard Vulp who killed himself intentionally just to refill his mana bar so he could fucking burn some more damage into him. I was like, I was blown away.
Back then, like everything was closely guarded, right? It was a secret how to do this shit properly.
100%. And the way that they used to do it was they used to charm Iraq, that Paladin quest NPC, and
Dude, yes. We did that in 2011 and they nerfed it. We actually had a Necro and Cleric just duo CT in a Classic on a TLP launch by Charming Iraq.
Really?
And yeah, she just kept CHing Iraq and he just soloed CT, dude.
Yeah, he's got 32,000 hit points.
Right. They just went toe to toe. Nowadays with all the buffs and shit, I don't think he could do it anymore. But anyway, he's nerfed, so you can't charm him. That's amazing.
No shit. They changed that? Wow.
Yeah. Because we took a video of it.
Oh, sure. It took him that long though, huh?
Yeah, it took him fucking, I guess, this was 2011 when we did it. So
yeah, so 10 years later.
Yeah,
I finally got wise to it. But yeah, IV was doing it back then.
Yeah, he hits for like 350 too. So
yeah, when you give him back then, anyways, when you gave him a torch and some pet weapon, like that kind of weapon setup and some buffs, he'll quad for like 250. He's basically Lord Nagafin.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? 32k quads for 250.
Exactly.
He's level 51 instead of 55, but you get the point. But yeah, when I saw him pull them in, I remember like the enchanters like all wrestling to get attached and a charm in and shit. Yeah. And I was like, oh fuck, that's how they do it. Because back then they weren't in NTOV yet, right? They were still in Cunark gear and shit, and just dabbling in Veldius stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, for them to be taking down Kazakh, it was really impressive.
Yeah.
You think about it.
You know, the guild leader of IV was in Faceless on the Cello server a couple years ago.
Yeah,
And then,
Crimson.
so then we did Crim and I did a joint guild when Mischief launched.
Oh, really?
It was called Faceless X in Virtue. It was a collab. And it didn't work out really well. You know what I
No,
mean? The Faceless people in the
whatever could have gone wrong.
right, it's just too much ego and stuff. And
No.
yeah. So I split off and made just the Faceless, and they renamed their guild Greed is Good. Yeah. So we fought it out for a bunch of expansions.
How fun was that?
I mean, it was a blast. It was
Right?
really,
It has to be, right? Crim is a fun competitor.
Oh yeah, he used to train me every night on Veneral Sathir. I'd be running in the pit. Here's VS right on my ass.
That's my dude.
Yeah.
He's a funny character. You know, one time back in Gates of Discord, I hadn't talked to him Crim for years. And this is Crim for you, especially with Greed as good as a title. Ready? So this is back when I was in Triality. We could do like the that M Shaz in Cubic. So this is about the time where you could one group them.
Okay. Yep.
And I was doing that, and I was boxing them, and I had my girlfriend at the time playing a character, and I just let somebody tag along, right? So we'd one group them and just eat the gear. We were like gearing people, and that gear was hot at the time.
It was good.
It was tight. Good. And Crim shows up, and he just made like a Shadow Knight, and he was like, send me a tell, because I was the ever-present figure on that server. Like people that had retired years ago, I'd be like the first person they sent a tell to. And they'd be like, "Oh, you're still here?" I'm like,
nice.
Yep, Yeah. So Crim sends me a tell, and he's like, "What's been going on?" I'm like, "Nothing." And he was like, "I'm thinking about playing again. I got a Shadow Knight." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm fucking getting this sick gear. I'll have you fucking pumped up in no time. Couple dope bogs. You'll be like caught up in like a second." He's like, "Sick." So he comes in. I get him a whole fucking suit of that Cubic gear.
Yeah.
Never heard from him again. That character's on player auctions the next day.
Yeah, sounds like Crim. You'd never catch Crim after Planes of Power anyway. You know what I mean? He's strictly for that golden period on TLP.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because he shines. He's not going to put himself in any situation that's going to tarnish his legacy.
Right.
Yeah. So when EQ's mechanics change, and you got to, he's not for that.
Yeah.
But I love him. I love him all the same, He could burn me 100 times with a million twin characters that he sells on player auction, and I still do it again.
Right.
He showed me the fucking light, dude. He was my first hardcore guild leader. You know what I mean? So I have a soft spot for that dude.
You know what? Even though we split up and everything, I still like Crim. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. It's just two people who had big egos and couldn't be in the same space. You know what I mean?
Oh, I totally do. I know. Yeah, of course I know.
Yeah. So how long were you in IV?
I was in IV until they broke up. So this was we ended up, which was they broke up in maybe September or October that year. So I was in IV for like 3 months, 2 months. That's it. It felt like a lifetime.
They broke up that fast.
So as soon as they killed, they're an elite gamer group, right? Of friends. Mm-hmm. So as soon as they killed Vulak, there was a noticeable change in the guild, and it was, I don't know how Vulak. That was it. They beat EverQuest. They were done with it. I remember sitting in EC Tunnel talking to one of the rogues. It was either it might have been Solid, or it was I can't remember his name. He was a dwarf rogue. Anyways, I remember asking him like, "Hey, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are we not raiding?" Like, and he's like, "Dude, we're breaking up." And I was like, "What? Why would we do that? We hit the fucking top guild. We can kill anything we want. Loot is raining on us. You know what I mean?"
Right.
And he's like, "We beat the game. Like, we're on to new shit." He's like, "What the fuck am I going to stick around here for?" And this is before, Avatar War was not an actual thing you would fight. Neither was Tenare and Growth. These were not raid targets. These were just NPCs, really, at that point in time.
So what was up with Tunair? Why was she not doable?
So she didn't have any loot on her. You know what I mean? She was so buffed the fuck up, and so was Avatar War, that when people tried to kill them, I forget what her initial abilities were, but it was basically like a get the fuck out of here, death touch kind of thing
Yeah.
situation. And then somebody, probably Fires of Heaven or one of those guilds, Afterlife or something, figured out a way to kill her, got the cloth cap or something, and they
Right.
had to retune the event, the whole event, like make it a fight, and then put a loot table on her. Same thing with Avatar War. He was just a fucking, when I remember reading the Fires of Heaven website when they were like, or whoever, I forget which guild it was
There's
at the
Legacy of
time.
Steel and Shock of Swords joint
Okay,
raid.
dude, you're a fucking historian, bro.
That's what we're doing right now, dog.
Yeah. You're valuable to the cause. So yeah, I remember reading that, like when it was happening, like watching the updates and stuff on their website, and
Yeah.
getting the old like shitty Blade of Carnage, and
Right.
you
All
remember?
that old Velius gear actually sucked. They had to buff
Yeah,
all the gear itself too.
yeah, they had a Blade Barbarian mask with no illusion on it or anything, and
Yeah.
a fucking shitty ratio on the Blade of Carnage, no proc.
Yeah.
You know, they
Like,
had to
what is
change
this
it all.
trash?
Yeah. So like when you think about it, like Avatar War, Tenare, and Plane of Mischief were the end of Velius, really, and none of it was finished.
Right.
And they finished 2 NPCs, and they said fuck that other zone, which is Plane of
Can't
Mischief. I
blame them.
spent 3 months in there between after In Virtue was done. I joined a guild called Promethean Order.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I played with them for years. That was really like, I mean, that was really, so In Virtue taught me how to raid, and in the 3 months I was with them, I learned fucking so much.
Yeah.
There was no room for error on those raids. Those guys would shit all over you if you fuck up.
Yeah.
They were your best friends, but like, they're not gonna have some fucking newbie, stammering around, wiping their raids and shit.
Right. It's not where you go to learn how to play EverQuest. It's where you go when you're the fucking best.
Yeah, yeah, and I fucking went there to learn to play EverQuest. I got lucky. But fucking those guys were the shit. But after that I joined Promethean Order eventually. It was a couple like in and out of like, a lot of the IV guys try to form guilds, that lasted a couple weeks or whatever.
Right.
Like Bizarre made Primal Aura, and then there was another one, I forget the name of it, who cares? But they were gone in like a week and a half, So I jumped Promethean Order, who was actually a raiding guild during the time when I was in the Endless and IV and everything. They were like doing their thing since day one in Vazaelle.
Okay.
And they ended up going all the way to, I was with them until Plains of Power. But
So did they become the top guild? They filled the power vacuum there?
yeah, they did. Yeah. They became the number one guild on Vazaelle. And then Caer Cadarn, who was the Euro guild, started sort of catching up. And then there was like a back and forth about who was the best. But Promethean Order, I think, was always, well, Caer Cadarn towards in Lukeland, Shadows of Lukeland, when that came
Yeah.
out. They sort of became number one, Caer Cadarn.
Mhm.
And then they probably stayed pretty close to Promethean Order, or there was like a tie or whatever going into Plains of Power and everything. But I hated Lukeland so much when we got to Vexthal. I fucking hated that zone so bad
Yeah.
that I fucking absconded to the Plane of Mischief. I was like, I'm done raiding. This zone is ass. And and I'm gonna go to the Plane of Mischief and see what that zone's all about. I was really intrigued by that zone,
It was the best zone in the game.
the card system and everything. I was obsessed, and I really did it. Like this is when I learned how to 2-box. I started 2-boxing a cleric because I was a warrior, and you couldn't do anything by yourself at that time in the game.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could kill one mob and sit down and try to regen your hit points for an hour and a half.
Right. Bandage your wounds for fucking 45 minutes.
Yeah, but I was like on planeofmischief.com. I was reading all Iron Tail's shit.
Right. Iron Tail duoed with him and the Druid. They duoed Bristlebane, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would read planeofmischief.com all the time. And I in my house now still in EverQuest, like in my EverQuest property.
Yeah.
One of the 3 rooms available is like a Hall of Mischief. I have made every placeable item from the Plane of Mischief is in there.
That's
So
awesome.
like, yeah, it's pretty sweet. So a lot of those items hadn't been updated in Alakazam's or Lucy since like 2004. And then when I made them, there was like the item updater was like, thank God, because nobody fucking has them or made them or anything. So I've
zone
made
is
it.
like a mystery to a lot of people still.
It is, yeah. When they revamped it and they put like the Enchanter 2.0 Epic as like a fight in there, I used to like be like the default tour guide to get through to the hedge maze for everybody in the on the server until everybody kind of got familiar with it. But I just love the style of the zone, like that funhouse nature of it, and the fact that it was unfinished content. I like that, and it was kind of like a weird, you know, nobody rated there, and like only like weird introverts and an introverted game would like hang out there.
Right.
There was a little community of about 7 people on Vazaelle that were like playing to mischief people, you know. And if you showed up there, they're like, "What are you doing in our zone? Get the fuck out of here!" You know.
Right.
Then they end up taking you in and reluctantly becoming friends. But yeah, I did 3 months in that. Then I finally came back right towards the end of Shadows of Lukeland. I came back out and then started like getting things going again for Planes of Power,
Right.
and then was back into it after that.
Can you talk to me really quick about your first experiences doing like specifically Saru and Emsra?
Saru and who?
Emsra.
Oh, Emperor. Yeah. Okay, so we did that was a Promethean order and Triality. There was like an overlap there, I
Okay.
think, where so we'll talk about Triality, I'm sure, in a minute, but when I did it with Promethean order, I remember Saru was really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So like super fucking hard. That fight was really tough. And you know, we didn't get to it early enough. We had to do the Bane weapon thing. There was like, you know, people were gimping him at first, you remember?
Right. Levitating in, and they got the earring of sad exploitation.
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, which is so dope. I wish I had one of those fucking
I know,
exploitation
dude.
items. But yeah. So I remember like Emp being fucking wicked difficult. So
He death touched originally before they nerfed him. Isn't that fucking
yeah,
crazy?
I
It's a
know.
20-minute fight back then.
Yeah, I mean the Bane weapons were just that was so fucking cruel almost. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you basically they found a way to neutralize primal weapons and good ratio weapons you picked up in Velius.
Right. All that
Depth
shit you just
heavies.
farmed, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. Out the window. Shit sucks.
Yeah.
Fuck you with that shit. Run that shit up your ass. Use these Bane weapons. But I
So
remember farming the shit out of those Bane weapons, dude, and for like the whole guild and all the ore out of fucking the deep and shit.
you got to live in those mines, dude.
Fungoid
Doing all
sap.
that.
Yeah. But I was like, I used to like Saru. Emperor used to fucking make me nervous that if I could like go from stable to unstable so fast.
Oh yeah. I
But
mean, it's the first
when we were fighting him,
fight, right?
was
Like
that?
it was the first like fight where you had a ton of shit going on, right? It wasn't just like one mob, one tank,
Yes,
and an AE.
you're right. Yeah, it was like almost like an event, like a ring event. We used to call them.
Right.
So we used to call everything a ring event. You know, like back then, everything was a
Yeah.
fucking ring event. But Emp was like back then. The trick to beating him was if you filled, you know, his diminutive stature buff debuff that would like spin you around and stun you and shit. That was flagged as beneficial. So if you kept your buff order full, it couldn't land on you. You know,
Oh shit.
yeah, that was the trick on him.
Nice.
Yeah, and so you just had to keep his minions under control, and that was it. And then chip away at him, which took forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to hate that fucking. I hated that zone, man.
Yeah.
Straw Temple, but I've come to love it now. I've spent time in there and reappreciated it. But I was like, we used to do Cursed in the basement, and I wanted a blood frenzy so fucking bad, dude.
Dude, that shit is so rare.
Dude, we killed him 25 times in a row with Promethean order, or 25 times, I should say. No blood frenzies, zero.
Yep.
Never got one. Calshazar, we got a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Which is another rare weapon, but no blood frenzies. Never got one.
Did you get a hate giver?
Huh?
Did you get a hate giver? That little club with the skull on it?
No.
Oh, that shit was
Prawn.
good.
This dude Prawn, Pron, was the main tank for Promethean order for a while. He had one. That looked like his baby rattle.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
an warrior, you know. Did they take that out of the game, or is that still exists? The hate.
It's still in. It's
Okay.
it's a best in slot offhand for that era.
Yeah. All right. Because I was like collecting warrior only weapons, and I tried to farm that, but I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe they took it out.
All those good weapons are rare as shit.
Yeah, I know. I have like a whole collection in my house of like the warrior only, like the best warrior only weapons every expansion.
Nice.
From beginning up to about Reign of Fear, maybe a couple expansions beyond Empires of Karnak or something.
So you got your Dagus in there from playing Sky.
Sure do. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's on my you know, that's on my, so I have expansion displays as well for like, it's like a museum in there. And that's
nice.
on my original EQ, like Plane of Hate, Plane of Fear, Plane of Sky.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dagus and there was another one, wasn't there? Oh, my
Yeah,
Afridi standard.
the Afridi standards in there. There's a
Yeah,
two-handed axe for warriors too.
I got that too. Yeah, yeah, and I get a couple Vox res sticks, moss
Oh
covered twigs,
shit, man.
Scepter of Destruction, fucking that book from Sleeper's Tomb, like all this. I collect like super rare items, you know.
Yeah,
And I made all that Plane of Mischief shit. Every placeable item, so I could fill the room.
yeah,
The room's like half black, half white. It's got
that's
like
cool.
it's got the picture of Bristlebane, like the painting, and all these items, like, and all the dolls, like the Mad Monk doll and all that shit, and the shamanistic shenanigan doll and all that, and
Yeah.
the sword of Bristlebane, which is like a little dagger about that big. It's cool. And even the Frost Maiden's idol, which was the hardest one to get because you can't make that with cards. It's actually it used to be like the booby loot you would get for when you did like the Words of Wealth turn in or some shit in there.
Mhm.
Like, instead of getting what you want, they give you a Frost Maiden's idol, which is like, I probably destroyed 1,000 of them. And then when I was trying to finish the room off, I couldn't find one anywhere, but I eventually chased one down, paid a shitload of money for it. Platinum, that is. But so I have that room, and then I have like each a display for each expansion, and in the Lucan one, it has all the Bane weapons for Saru and Emperor and shit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then go ahead.
Was it Luckland you ended up joining Triality?
So it was Planes of Power. So I was with Promethean Order, and we went all the way to the Elemental Planes, like pretty strong, probably number one on the server, or definitely number one on the server. And when we got to the Elemental Planes, man, we could not get it together. We never got a a kill on Fen and Row.
Oh
We
wow.
never got never got a Zegany kill, never got a Cornaf kill, and certainly didn't kill the Wraith Council. But we just couldn't get it going. You know, we were fucking solid right up there. And when I was in Promethean Orders, really, when I really started to like, that was when I did the whole thing with Techno, was in 2003. So this is about that time. And this kind of like when I really started to like, you know, I don't know what it was. It was like I started to like hang out with people from EQ a little more, and like used to go to like the fanfares a lot and stuff. I was like really getting involved in the community, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, becoming like a persona.
I don't want to say it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say that, but maybe after the Techno thing a little bit, you know. But like I wanted to write for the Promethean Order website a lot.
Yeah.
But I never got the chance to. So when I joined, anyways, what happened was they fizzled out in the Elemental Planes. We just couldn't hold it together. Our guild leader retired. They made me the guild leader. I didn't really want it. I kind of let it for a little bit, just as like a sort of like a duty to the people in the guild. I felt like, so I kept the guild together as long as I could until somebody else would like fill the hole.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was really a temporary leader. Nobody else wanted it, but I didn't want it. So eventually I just gave it to this dude Tremis, who was want to hear something fucked up? There's this dude Tremis, who was the last guild leader of Promethean Order, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a wizard, an erudite wizard. I'm scrolling through the Promethean Order forums, and we were like in the middle of, when I like halfway through it. I'd been playing with this dude for a while. We were pretty close friends, I'm scrolling through the forums, and like every EverQuest forum at the time, we had like a real life picture thread. Mm-hmm. So, like when before social media, people like to share like what they look like and shit. I was like scrolling through, and I see this guy's face pop up, and it was my homeroom teacher from high school.
No way.
Fucking for real. So immediately I was like, looking at him like, this can't be like the same dude, And I was like, hey, is your name whatever? He sends me a message in game. How fuck do you know my real name? I was like, bro, you used to hand me detentions out in fucking homeroom in high school. And he was like, it was just like and then we became really close friends after that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he actually works for Bethesda now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. He was trying to like get into the gaming, like, profession, I guess, get into that whole thing. And we did it together. We used to go to all these, they used to have like a Boston meet and greet with all the gaming companies around here, which used to be quite a bit. And just to try to get into he wanted to get into the field. So he ended up getting in. I had nothing. And I had a close call though. I was like, we were at one of these meet and greets one time, and it was like all the they used to be like Stainless Steel Studios was around here. Harmonix, who made Guitar Hero and Dance Dance Revolution. They're from around here.
Right.
And it was when DDR was out, and we were at one of these. It was just like a pizza and beer kind of thing. We got together with like all those companies. We get together and just like talk shop.
Yeah.
So me and Tremis would go to like, so he could like try to mingle and try to weasel his way into like a job,
Right.
And I was just there drinking beer with one dude, and he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I play EverQuest and whatever, and he was like, yeah, what do you want to do in like the gaming industry? And I was like, I don't know, I'd do maybe like QA or something. He's like, yeah, you should come work with us. We need somebody to do QA. And I was like, well, what kind of titles do you guys like? What kind of games do you make? At that time, I just want to play MMOs, So he goes, well, we made this, we did this, we did this, we made Dance Dance Revolution. I was like, forget it, I'm out. I'm not going to be QAing Dance Dance Revolution. And then fucking, a couple years later, I was hooked on Guitar Hero.
Right.
I beat Guitar Hero 2, and I'm watching the extras videos of like the people who made it, like this, and it's that dude who was trying to give me a job is
shit, man,
spinning around in the fucking extras videos. Like I could have been working for Harmon. I didn't realize they were the Guitar Hero people either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could have been right there.
Yeah. Then they ended up, I think, selling to Activision. I think everybody who worked for the company got handed a couple $1 million or something. That's what I heard.
Damn.
Yeah, when Activision bought them up, they were a small company. It was like a dozen people, and they're all millionaires.
Right. Damn.
Yeah, I've had a couple close calls with being rich and happy that never worked out.
Well, that's kind of how it goes, though.
Yeah, for me it does.
Yeah.
For some people it goes great.
Yeah. So how did you end up in Triality?
All right, so that's a pretty good question, because after Promethean Order was done with the Elemental Planes, and I got handed the guild leadership, and I passed it off to Shremis, I was like, not in the mood. I up to that point in EverQuest, I wanted to be in the #1 guild on the server, and the thought of being the #1 guild beyond your own server was still like nobody. That was Fires of Heaven, Afterlife, Legacy of Steel, all those guys, Triton, right. But I never set my sights there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So at the time, Triality was a newer guild on Vazaelle. It was a joint from like Sovereign, I think was one of the guilds or something. I don't know. There was 2 guilds that came together and they made Triality. And they, at the time, were the number 3 or 4th guild on Vazaelle. It was like Promethean Order, Caer Cadarn, Eternal Advocates. I mean, Triality was so new that you could probably put fucking Celestial Navigators, fucking Munchkins of Mayhem, fucking any other guild above them, because they were unproven, right? But there was a couple people from Promethean Order that joined them. And I was thinking about joining the Euro Guild, Caer Cadarn, because they were the #1 guild. And I had a lot of friends in there from old school Vazaelle people who were still in there. The Euros, people that I leveled up with. I was really tempted. And then I was like, you know what? Like, fuck being in the #1 guild. I just kind of want to chill and be, like raid, but not be like #1, like pushing it all the time.
Right.
I needed a little break. And I was like, what would be funner is if I joined the number 3 or 4 guild on the server, and if they ended up becoming the #1 guild, that would be a funner than just hooking up with the #1 guild.
Right. Build them up, get them there.
Yeah. Even if like I didn't build them up and get them there, just being a part of that would be fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I joined Triality it was like this dude Pine, Thalia, this girl Thalia, 2 druids, and then Fishlip, who was a cleric that was in Promethean Order with me, and he joined Triality, and I joined with them, and the rest is history.
Who was the leader of Triality at the time?
So it was this dude Sendot. His name was Sendot. He was a barbarian warrior, and they had a raid in Cael Cadarn, Statue of Rallo-Zek raid, and he threatened a GM in real life to like come to her house and do something or whatever, in a fit of like, all right, you can't kill Vindy, and he was like, what the fuck? I'm gonna, and threatened her or something, and got perma-banned.
Woo.
And he started a cleric named Orwar, and that's who really loved Triality's Orwar, but originally he was a barbarian warrior named Sendot. And for all of Triality's fucking existence, and probably still now, Sendot is still marked as guild leader in the raid window, and
Nice.
he hasn't been logged in since like 2002, or some shit.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you guys just did it once. How long did it take for Sendot to, or I guess Ardoir to retire?
Orwar was he was the guild leader. Shit. I mean, Or was the guild leader probably until, I mean, he was the guild leader when Triality was the number one guild around.
Mm-hmm.
He was still the guild leader. Like he
Oh
was in,
wow.
yeah, he was like, he took us from zero to hero, and then he ended up retiring. Probably, I can't guess. I want to say it was after Omens of War. It was, further down in the line, and then I forget who took it after that. It was probably Lohannis, who was like a magician, Llohannnis. I think she took it. Dalmoth was the guild leader at some point for a long time. Dalmoth and I are sort of like just we are Triality lifers. Like we bleed the orange and black, So we do anything to keep the guild running. You know what I mean? Just to keep the doors open. Yeah. So he would reluctantly be the guild leader and raid leader at times. To the bane of his own sanity, but he would do it just to fucking keep things alive. And then
being a guild leader is like the worst thing in the world.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks. Talk about thankless jobs, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, all you get is bitching tells.
All day.
Yeah, and nobody. When everything goes wrong, you get blamed. When everything goes right, nobody cheers your name.
Right. Yeah.
But Mendix was the guild leader for it was like basically Orwar, and then Lohannis had it for a bit, and then Mendix, Dalmoth, and then because Dalmoth had it when we were really a fucking machine, like during Saltaris, like Buried Sea and all that.
Right, when you guys were like the famous Triality.
Yeah, and when during the Serpent Spine.
Yeah.
The best overall victory and all that shit. That was Dalmoth, really. He's like a competitor like Krim is, you know what I mean? Like he can't, when we were 99 just playing like fucking filthy casuals and we got pushed into rating, that was Dalmoth.
Yeah.
Trying to be like, come on, man, we're going to want epics. We're going to want.
I was hitting Dalmoth up I was on Teal and you guys were on Green. I was like, you guys should come over to Teal while you can transfer. The top guild here blows. I'm in it. We could just make a whole new guild. And I don't think he wanted to deal with the lower population, but
I don't know.
Do you remember the Guild Seal team from Green?
Yeah. How could I forget?
So they made a guild on the newest TLP server and got fucking smashed.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always good because people always are like, hey, who would be better? The top TLP guilds, top P99 guilds. And I think the question is pretty firmly answered. And it wasn't even like an amazing top TLP guild. You know what I mean? It was like FTE was just like there. They were going to be the top guild, sort of. They lost to a second rate, like a tier 2 guild, I would say. And then another top guild smelled blood in the water and kind of just formed because
I love it.
They saw everyone was soft on the server. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the top P99 guild did not make the cut.
So who was that who formed up, who smelled the blood in the water and knew?
That was Relentless Insomnia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for them. Those fucking savages.
Yeah.
Hook up with those dudes. They have the right eye.
Yeah, I heard what happened with them was like they were the guys that would become leadership of that guild were in FTE at first, but they were TLP veterans instead of the P99 dudes. So they're at the server first in a Rook raid, and like the raid leaders were just making bad calls. And after that raid, they were like, "Fuck this," and made their own guild, and like within 2 weeks became the top guild.
Dope. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love the story of the underdog splitting off and
right.
The underdog, the fucking fuck these clowns. Let's go fucking get the real show on the road.
Right. So what did Triality do differently that they were able to succeed in the elemental planes?
Shit. I mean, Triality, Orwar was just such a good raid leader. The bulk of the roster wasn't anybody that was impressive. Like I knew everybody on Vazaelle, and these people to me were the second, maybe third and fourth sort of class of Triality. You know what I mean? Like they were the players. Right. They weren't the first level 60s or the second wave of level 60s. They were like the fourth wave of players. So I wasn't impressed by the roster at all. Dalmoth's actually the one who recruited me. I was sitting in Iceclad waiting for a low diesel spawn, and like for 12 hours, because I had no guilds. So what else do you do? And
Right.
I don't know what I was going to do when he spawned anyways. You call nobody. Should I
Right.
solo him? So then all these like Asian, like it was about that time, these Asian guild showed up, and they were, so it was like, oh shit, he's about to pop, and they got the timer locked down. So Dalmoth came out of nowhere. He had the timer locked down, and he was like, hey, join up with me. Fuck these dudes. And then the two of us sniped Lord Isel from like a whole Asian guild. And then I was like, all right, this dude's all right. I guess I'll join
Nice.
Triality.
There you go.
And so, but he could talk. He could talk a good game. Dal was so young back then. He was like 15. And, you know, they're multi, those fucking 15-year-olds. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. He was like talking a big game about Triality. So I was kind of sold, and I joined them. And even though he's like, we're gonna be number one, and you know, trust me, we'll fucking blow everybody away, and we get this dude, and yada yada yada. And so I joined, and it took a while, but we got there.
It was
But
prophecy.
yeah, I guess. I mean, he could see it. He could see it, and he read the tea leaves. He knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know why Triality was. Honestly, I don't know why Triality was so successful. Like really, and I was there from day one, really,
Mhm.
and I couldn't tell you what made us different. I mean, if I really had to like think about it, I would say that we had nothing to lose, right? We weren't
Yeah.
raiding, trying to hang on to a title. We had no pressure on us,
Right.
right? So we could roll into any raid and be like, if we fucking eat our dick on this raid, nobody's gonna care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Downlove, who was like, he wasn't quite an officer at the time, but he was like, you know, a very active member. He's a fucking great tactician, really good
Yeah.
strategist. He's just
Yeah.
good at reading the room and seeing what needs to be done. And so was the guild leader Orwar, and we had a couple other officers that were just good strategists and shit, you know. And we had a lot of loyal members. So I mean, we had this warrior named Madasa who was like a friend of mine when I joined Triality. I met her at like a fanfare in Boston, so I knew her too. And she probably still plays, but she was in Triality from then until the end of time.
Mhm.
And Grap was another main warrior. So we would like gear these people, and they were lifers. So there wasn't a lot of turnover either.
Right.
So that kind of worked in our favor. We weren't constantly fighting that battle of gearing, you know.
Yeah. People who join you when you're not on top and then you become on top are super loyal.
Very loyal. But there's like this psychology with, you know, when you're riding up that wave and they see it, people are fucking down. But once you become number one, then it's right.
Yeah.
Then you want to be in the second guild to dethrone the number one guild.
Right.
So what happened to us in Triality was we were getting all the best players, you know what I mean, in EverQuest. Yeah. And when we were in Saltaris, by that, like the Serpent Spine and in Buried Sea, we had the best players in the fucking world, and we were unstoppable. I mean, we were beating expansions weeks, months before anybody else was.
Right.
And but shortly thereafter, you know, once we were riding that wave, that lasted not that long, and then everybody wanted to be in the guild that dethroned us. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to be in the second guild because they had nothing to lose.
Right, which was ROI basically, right?
Yeah, essentially. Eventually, it all fizzled down to ROI. Yeah, and that's who, like, you know, Kulas. They were our greatest enemy for a while in time. I just, you know, there was assassination plots put out there.
Right.
You know, shit got real for a minute.
I heard Kulas is doing really good in real life now.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and he is doing great. He's actually doing really well. And
that's good.
Yeah, him and I took a road trip together. I don't know.
No
if you
way.
know that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We never met before. We were like in the guild together, you know.
Yeah.
But one of our guys, Shang, who's like a longtime Realm of Insanity member. He used to live down in Pennsylvania, like Hershey Park, and he had this little get together. So I told Kulas, I was like, let's fucking road trip it. And we had the fucking best time of our lives. We had a blast.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, we had a fucking blast. We never met. We just talked the whole time, laughed our fucking balls off. And
nice.
He lived in Connecticut. And I was in Boston, so I just picked him up on the way.
Nice.
And then made him drive the rest of the way.
There you go. So you guys, when did they appear on the scene and start really competing with you guys?
So I had like, when they were on Combine, I think they started on Combine. And I had like, they were off my radar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know who Realm of Insanity was until I talked shit on them in one of the Triality posts when people were just always dogging us. All these lies about Triality and these like like rumors and shit. None of it was
Right.
really,
Just Top
you
Guild
know.
shit.
Yeah, and I used to write the website like I was like, the character I would write from was like, ultimate sore winner. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was like the vibe that I wanted to write from. Like we're number one, and fuck you for even trying to be number two.
Right.
So there was a post I made in there one time. I think we got accused of cheating extra keys for Meldrath's mansion to get into Crystallos.
Was that the cascading thing, or was that something different?
It's something different.
Okay.
That was in that whole thing happened during the cooling chamber underfoot.
Underfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I was writing a post about people thought that we were squeezing extra keys out and got into Crystallos early. So I read this whole post, which all these archives are at trialityguild.com now. Again, they were gone for a while, but they're back. So you can read this. And then, I didn't, when I was writing this article, so at the end of the article, basically, I just zeroed in on all the top guilds and wrote a paragraph shitting on each of them.
Nice.
But like, honestly, dude, like I was so unplugged from, I didn't know anything about these guilds. I literally was asking people in the guild, like, hey, do you know anything about Raging Fury? They'd be like, yeah, one time in beta, they did that. I'm just cool. I wrote it like I knew everything. You know what I mean? And then in the Realm of Insanity paragraph, I was like, Realm of who? Question mark.
Got him.
And then talk shit on them. And then I just finished it up by saying, like, Triality's first, and the rest of you assholes are tied for last. And when I joined ROI, every time we beat an expansion, somebody would send me a tell, Realm of who? Realm of who?
Oh,
and they'd be like tied for last. Like even when I was in the guild, they were.
It's the one downside to talking that shit.
Yeah, they knew, they all knew, but that was like, it was a character, but still, it was fun. They always broke my balls. Kulas always, to this day, is like shits on Triality too. He'll just pop up out of nowhere, start sending me tells, being like, what the fuck did you guys even number one anyways? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Did you even beat expansions? Like, all talking shit.
Speaking of that, which expansions was Triality the number one game wide?
So I should fucking know this by heart, especially just because on the Triality.com website, when I was putting the when I was restoring the old updates, I was going through like the 10-year update and doing like the timeline of when we hit all this shit.
Yeah.
And I calculated like we had like 31 number one. I think it was like 31. It could have been way more. I don't even remember the number, to be honest. But it was a shitload of number one kills. So like back then, it was like there was a couple things. So like everybody wanted to be the number one to finish the expansion, right? But we had number one victories like per raid, and people used to count that shit, like it was important. That's why Township Rebellion tried to sell the fact that they were the first ones to beat the Serpent Spine, because they beat Ashengate first, and they had a quicker. Mm-hmm. So they called it the best overall win. Like we had a best overall win because we went the hard way, or they did Ashengate and then Frost. I forget how they justified it, but it was like basically like they had more quicker number one. They were number one in more events than we were, basically. Even though we finished the expansion before they did.
Right.
They had more number one kills. Like first they killed Ashengate before everybody. There's a lot of fights in Ashengate.
Right.
And then we killed Frostgrip. We went that route first.
Right.
So we did the Serpent Spine for sure. I think that was the first time we beat an expansion before anybody.
Okay.
The first time we made waves was when we were the second guild. Maybe, I don't know if the first guild into the Citadel of Anguish during Omens. That was like we beat the trials in Mermaid Proving Grounds to get the key to Anguish.
Yeah.
I think we might have been the second guild or tied to get into Anguish first. And then we didn't quite beat an expansion first until the Serpent Spine. And then the Buried Sea came after that, right?
Saltaris, yep.
Then we beat Saltaris. But when we were in Saltaris, that was when we were at our best.
Yeah.
We beat Commodus, which was like event 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was broken and unbeatable, and we fucking beat it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean that was like the developers, like we had a little, friendly little shooting barbs at each other over that one, but
that fight sucks.
We wiped 54 times before we even beat it.
Nice.
I had it posted on my desk that I would put like a score mark down every time we wiped.
we were doing it one time, and a mage decided to nuke one of the Commodus, splits during, it desyncs or whatever. So like one jumped up like 10%, and mage was like, now's my chance to nuke it. He nukes it, and it's technically Commodus and all those ads are elemental creatures, so he gets 150,000 damage crit. It was like nothing we could do was going to save it at that point. 150k. You're just like, suddenly all the bosses are hitting for 20,000 damage, just one rounding everybody, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, you see that happen. You just fucking get it from your keyboard and go start making a snack.
Right.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't pull a number out of his ass like that in the other fight,
Never when you want it, right?
But we basically rode number one from then till Underfoot, and that's when ROI started. Kulas and friends started recruiting out of our roster. This is how they
able to do it.
How?
Yeah, how'd they poach people from you guys when you're on top?
We were having like we having attendance issues at the time. Like everybody goes through these growing pains, Yeah. When your roster churn happens during farm season.
It also it gets boring being on top for so long, I bet.
Yeah,
right?
That does. Yeah, sure. And then you're farming for longer than anybody else is. So you're in this repetitive fucking when there's no excitement, just loot.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure, man. There's only one place to go when you're number one.
That's fucking right. And we went there.
Yeah.
I forget when we finished in Underfoot, maybe, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And then Veils of Alaris or whatever came after that, it was even worse. But that's when so basically ROI started. ROI was a good guild. So I'm going to say a couple things, but with the pretext to all this is that they are a fucking great guild.
Yeah.
Super talented players, fucking super competitive, but in order to beat us, Kulas, you had to recruit out of our roster. You know what I mean?
So Triality beat Triality.
100%, and I'll say it. And I'll say it over and over again.
Podcast episode name is Quarken says, only Triality beat Triality. Fuck ROI. Right. Realm of who?
That's right. When people like my favorite Star Wars character is Boba Fett, and people always shit on him because he got fucking bumped into the pit.
Yeah, the Sarlacc.
And I try to just say, like, the only thing that could kill Boba Fett was coincidence. Happenstance. Right. No human being could kill that dude. It was coincidence and happenstance. The fucking universe beat him.
Right.
It's the only way he could be killed.
Fate conspired.
That's right. Yeah. Fucking forces beyond our understanding conspired against us and removed Triality and Boba Fett from the number one spots of their galaxies. But
so going into Underfoot, did you guys know that you were in for a rough race?
Yeah, for sure. I remember doing Fippy with like nobody, like a really thin raid, 30, 40 people, and it was like, the fuck's going on here? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so before that, before that was House of Thule before Underfoot?
It was after.
Okay, all right. I thought so. I was a little confused, but I couldn't remember. But
it was Seeds of Destruction, then Underfoot.
Oh, Seeds of Destruction. Okay, so that's where we almost got number one, and then Event 7, the final event.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I should say Event 6 was bugged in Tower.
Yeah,
and we were like in Tower before anybody by far, and we killed all the events up to 6. Couldn't beat 6. We must have cleared Tower. Fucking, I don't even know how many times before they finally fixed Event 6. Well, they fixed Event 6 when we had lockouts in Event 1 through 5.
I think I remember hearing the conspiracy about this where like ROI knew when they were going to patch it. So
it was Crimson Tempest who was the one.
Oh.
Yeah, ROI 2 probably shortly thereafter. But so I misspoke. Our lockouts were expiring. So they patched it right when our lockouts were up, and Crimson Tempest had lockouts on 1 through 5.
Okay.
So we had to fucking beat 1 through 5 to get to 6. So they fixed 6. CT walks into 6 and beats it. Mm-hmm. And they click over into Event 7. And as they're buffing, we had already cleared Event 1 through 5 and had just finished 6. So it was like 2, 3, 4 minutes separated us from, they got number 1, we got number 2 by like minutes.
That sucks.
And we beat fucking 5 events at the time it took them to beat 1, or 6.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And even though it's like a small technicality, anybody with logic in their brain would know, like, well, I mean, did you really finish number 1?
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you know, if both people started at the same starting line, right?
Right. We were in tower weeks before them or whatever. You know what I mean?
They should reset all lockouts on patch day.
It'd be nice. Be nice, but they don't give a fuck about competition in the high end red game. That's a very small percentage of the player base. So that's like another problem, you know, because we're the most
we're the most, you know what I mean?
Visible. You know, we're the ones who like are the loudest with the website ticket, the visits, but they don't, you know, they didn't really care about us. But so everybody used that as an opportunity to shit all over Triality, and you know, everybody wanted to wave the number 2 flag in our face, you know, which was fine. I mean, I was like ready to eat some crow, you know, when when we got dethroned. I was like, here it comes. I'm gonna eat some fucking humble pie right now. And it was an all-you-can-eat humble pie buffet after that.
Yeah, I bet.
So CT got number 1 there, and then when we went into Underfoot, after farming tower and shit, that's when our roster was like getting some churn, and we were like recruiting, and Underfoot came out, and we didn't quite have it together. And then we got some number 1 kills in Underfoot. Like, we were competitive still, but we ended up losing. Like, we couldn't. I don't think we killed the first creation for. I forget what the timestamp is on when we killed it versus other people, but. And that was Mendix. So Downloth had the guild like a well-oiled machine, a competitive fucking badass, and he handed it to Mendix. And Mendix is a good guild leader. He's more robotic. He's like a little more like, you know, he's a very like, you know, sort of like, I guess Downloth is more like an organic sort of like we're just fucking badasses. We'll get in here and do it, and keeps it loose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas like I used to say, like Mendix got us on like a school lunch schedule for like raids and shit. You know, these raids are at this time and every night. You know, it was just kind of like, for me, it took the fun out of it. It was just a little too regimented. But that's how Mendix is. He's like a robot. He's very smart. He's super smart.
Yeah.
He's super organized. He's like, you know, he's the accountant kind of brain.
Right.
Great strategist. A brilliant mind at EverQuest, but probably not a guild leader type, you know. Great raid leader. Awesome officer in the background. But guild leader, probably not.
Yeah.
But he did a good job, but, you know.
My friend Epto was in Crimson Tempest, and he wanted me to talk. He was like, make sure that, you know, Q talks about the Triality versus CT SOD launch and stuff. So
yeah, that was it.
They remember.
Never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that expansion. The Seeds of Destruction was one of my favorite expansions. Looking back, that was probably one of my favorites.
So what was it that kind of made you guys start falling apart?
Well, I became the guild leader in Underfoot. So after we beat the first creation the same night, we handed the reins over, and I never wanted it, but I wanted to save Triality. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I felt like Mendix wasn't going in the right direction with it. You know.
Yeah.
And well, maybe we should rewind a little bit.
Okay.
Because during Underfoot is when that was the cooling chamber. And that was when we got suspended.
I remember hearing about this, and I wasn't even really into EQ at the time, so I know it was big.
Yeah, so I'll tell you how from my perspective that night what happened, and then I'll tell you what actually happened. So I remember being in the guild hall. I didn't want to raid that night. I was like burned out. I wanted to go to my buddy's house and like watch fucking Trailer Park Boys or fucking movies or whatever.
Right.
But I was like, fuck it, I'll go. So I went to the cooling chamber, and I was half paying attention all night. And anybody that's ever raided with me will verify and vouch that that's usually how I raid. About a half paying attention.
Right.
And we killed that beast once. And I remember somebody in the officer chat or guild chat or something was like, oh, we're going to do this all night long. And I was like, what? That's a fucking, I'm not doing that. I'm out of here. So I left. And then I remember they were like, hey, can you stay in the raid for your flag? So you could like 85% people in.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I dipped to the guild hall, went to my buddy's house, and I was there for like a couple hours, and I got a text from Delmoth, bro, the whole guild is fucking banned. I was like,
Oh,
what? I was like, what the fuck? And then I called him, and he was like laughing. You know what I mean? He thought it was the funniest thing. And he was like, yeah, they fucking suspended. They banned. He said banned. He kept saying banned.
right. Ban is a scary word.
Yeah, that's a fucking frightening word. And I was like, no, I was like, fucking like, what do you mean banned? You know? And then he's like, it's a 5-day suspend. I was like, oh, all right, I can deal with that. But then I was like, well, what the fuck happened? So, you know what happened is there was a bug that we took advantage of, right? This is what most people think. And
Yeah.
there was a bug with lockouts where if you drop the DZ, you drop the expedition, nobody received a lockout except for whoever you left in there. And then you
Yep.
could add everybody back in, go get the loot. Then nobody has lockouts, do it again. And you
Rinse
just
and repeat.
yeah, you just let alts eat the lockouts. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So were we taking advantage of that to get loot? It seemed like it, right? At the time.
Right.
That's what was happening on the face of it, but that's not what was happening at all. What was happening was Mendix, the robot, was, you know, he had like an in with the developers, and he was like trying to get them to fix this, right? He
Right.
was like, he saw this error, and he was like, hey, you guys got to fix this. And in his mind, he was like, we weren't taking advantage of that loophole, but other guilds, there was some murmurs that other guilds were, and they were getting extra flags, extra or loot and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he found the bug. We weren't abusing it, but other guilds were, and he was telling developers to fix it. So he felt like they weren't fixing it quick enough, and it was hurting us as a guild, right? So he says, if you don't fix it by this time, we're gonna start exploiting it. You know?
He gave him a 14 days.
Yeah. He gave him you have 14 days to get plenty of time. I'm gonna turn this website into the #1 World of Warcraft website.
Yeah, wasn't Crimson Tempest doing the same shit with Pellucid Grotto?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but probably
there's some other. Yeah, I remember hearing about other guilds doing it and stuff.
Well, I mean, Rallis's Revenge, I think, right? Is that the guild? Is that the DZ that was the one everybody was farming?
I think
like
so,
in
yeah.
groups. I think it was Rallis Returns or Rallis Revenge or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's when people were really taking advantage of this and like exploiting that. But it was mostly groupers. You know what I mean? Just getting like good raid drops. Anyways, so Mendix identified it. He felt like they weren't fixing it, and then like and he was like, why not? He was treating the developers like they were like EverQuest players or whatever. They have those guys are at a job. They got priorities. Fixing lockouts is not high on the priority list if you're understaffed and you got other technical things you got to fix. You know what I mean?
Right. We care about that shit way more than they do.
Yeah, they're clocking in and out. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is our game and this is our hobby. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Mendix basically was like, it was like a, like a fuck you to whoever the developer was. Which I think it was Engrith, and I think that was the developer. He was like, that guy had a fucking hard on for us anyway. He didn't like us. So, so he didn't tell anybody in the guild that this was going on behind the scenes. He didn't tell anybody in the guild that this is why he was dropping the DZ to sort of shove it up this guy's ass that, hey, if you're not going to fix it, we're going to take advantage of it,
Right.
So he told them ahead of time. So this dude was sitting there like, on his developer fucking telescope watching us do this, you know what I mean? He tipped him off and everything. Mendix is not a good criminal.
No. He wanted him to know. Mask off.
So we got immediately banned, you know what I mean? And and then that little cat fight that these two guys were having, the developer and Mendix, this is why we got on. It was supposed to be a 5-day ban. That's what Engrith or whoever put on us. But as soon as somebody came in the office like a day later and caught wind of this, one of the higher ups, they're like, you can't fucking suspend a whole guild of people, all these players, because you're having a pissing match with one of their guild leaders. And you know what I mean? So that's why we got, the thing only lasted 2.5 days, the ban, you know what I mean? Then they took it off our accounts and it was just like never spoken of again. So that was around fanfare. So I made like these t-shirts for our members to wear to go to fanfare. So like Trey was like, it was like in the springtime, it was like April or whatever. It's like Triality spring break, with like the dates.
Yes. Yeah.
With the dates that we were banned, and then like the last date was like crossed out. It was like,
oh man,
changed to like an earlier date, just to like troll people.
Dude, that's so good.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a Triality classic.
Yep, Triality Spring Break 2010, April 27th through May, surprise, April 30th.
That's right.
So good.
Just for funsies, you know how we do.
Yeah.
Just for laughs.
So after that, Mendix passed it to you not too long after that, right?
Yeah, at the end of Underfoot, I took it over. So I took the guild over when it was like, we were public enemy #1, bunch of cheaters and all this shit, So I took it over, and I was determined to just rehab us and get us to our former glory,
Yeah.
And we almost, and nobody remembers who comes in second place,
Yeah.
So we almost beat ROI or CT, whoever beat House of Thule. I think it was CT might have came in first there, or ROI.
It was ROI. That was
Okay.
like the start of their dominance. They haven't dropped that expansion since.
Okay. Those dicks.
Yeah.
Those are my homies now. But so what happened in fucking House of Thule is, see, this is where me and Mendix have a little bit of a disconnect. So in House of Thule, we would have beat that expansion before anybody. And we were at Moral Thule before anybody that night. I forget the specifics, but we figured out the strat and everything, and we were running late, on another server across the world. ROI was doing the same thing. And we had one more run in us, and we would have beat it. We almost beat it. We had everything we needed to beat it. I'm telling you, man, we would have beat it that night. But Mendix didn't tell me guild leader. He was like the raid leader still. He like announced in his group and stuff, like, no, we're done for the night. Like, we're not gonna.
Oh.
Yeah. So other people logged out, and I was like, we're not done for the night. Where the fuck did they go? And he's like, well, I don't know. Like, we're up late. Why are we keeping everybody up late doing this shit? So I fucking threw my computer chair across the room. Like, I was so pissed. And I had to sit in that fucking broken ass computer chair for like the next 7 years. I never bought another one. Like missing a wheel. Every time I'd fucking like tip forward. Like, fucking Mendix. But yeah, so like we almost returned to it. I swear we would have beat House of Thule because we beat it the next night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like
easy.
Next night, first shot, we beat it. We would have beat it that night. We figured it all out. The missing piece or whatever, like, like the last thing we needed to, like, we had it worked out. And Mendix sort of like, and I don't know to this day, I don't know if he did it on purpose because it was my first expansion as a guild leader. And I was going to return us to #1. And it would have shined a little shadow on his time as guild leader.
Right.
I don't know. People are weird, dude. You know what I mean? People do weird things sometimes,
It sucks, man, because you never know how things would have gone after that, right? When you get that #1 back, maybe ROI implodes over it. You know what I mean? Maybe you get a rush of fresh blood. Like, who knows where we would be today?
Yeah, man, I could have been in the pros. I bet you I could throw a football over that mountain.
Right.
Yeah, man, I could have been #1 again. No, but who knows? Honestly, like, it's those forks in the road of life that we come up against.
Right.
But I would have talked a lot of shit if we won House of Thule. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
The Triality website would have been all chest banging.
So that was House of Thule. How many more expansions did you guys have before you wrapped it up?
I took it to Veil of Alaris. I remember being was that the last expansion we did? It was spiritually for me as a leader and as Triality, as a guild. That was like the last that I had in me. You know what I mean? It was like too much pressure. I was like really trying to keep everything together, keep us competitive. We got stuck on one event. I forget which one it was in VOA, and it was like Pillars of Alra, I think was the event. And it was like, it fucking chewed us up, man. We couldn't figure it out. And and then I forget what we placed in that, but we did really good on the Tri-Unity. Like we baked our own strategy up. So here's the other problem. After Mendix, and this is really the problem. After that little tat-a-tat that Mendix had with the developers in the cooling chamber, we were not invited to beta ever again after that. So we never got beta strats. We didn't see the events for weeks upon weeks before they were live, months. These guys were handed fucking the strategies, everybody else. So the fact that we even scored in the top 10 against these guilds, we had completely blind to all these events, was pretty impressive, I gotta say.
That's pretty heavy. Yeah, having to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about competition and trying to figure out strategies, and every single guild has seen these and worked out the strategies and stuff and knows what to do, and we are literally going in. This is how we used to start events. I would fucking get everybody in there and I'd say, all right, snare everything, root everything, charm everything, mez everything. You know what I mean? Like do like everything and just see what happens.
Yeah,
Like that
got to
was our
figure it
first
out.
runs on everything.
Yeah.
You know, hit the shit with all these spells. You know, fucking heal shit, cure shit, NPCs. I mean, just see what like happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have to start every event like that and then work up from that.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like baking up a strategy. You know, while
Yeah.
these
Way
other
behind.
cats were just walking in with like a bloated list of what they had to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, you know, who's the real all star? I'm just fucking.
You got to get spies, man. You have to have spies in all those other guilds, man.
I know. Gotta have fucking studio spies.
There you go. Yeah. Sent Dalno to go work at Darkpaw Games.
But see,
So I guess back then
it was against us. Like it was happening to us when we were number one. We had people that were playing in our guild and also playing in multiple other guilds at the same time.
Yeah.
Stealing our strategies and giving to other people, you know.
Yeah, got to do the black ops.
Yep. Black face paint.
Yeah. So after that, how long did it take for you to join ROI?
So Triality was like closing its doors, and I was like already like when Triality was definitively done, we stopped raiding. I didn't look at any other guild until I knew that Triality was completely done and my allegiance with them was over. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So still to this day, I've played EverQuest for 23 years now. I've never left a guild ever. Never, ever, ever. I've only left guilds when they've disbanded.
What about your first casual leveling guild?
You son of a bitch.
I pulled out the receipts.
Storm Legion?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all right, so on a technicality, but they weren't a raiding guild, right?
Right.
So that was a little train up and go guild. But so aside from Storm Legion, after them.
Never left a raiding guild that was still alive.
Ever.
That's
so
awesome.
Endless, I was with them until they died. The Prometheanor until they died. Triality till they died. I was in Triality for 11 years.
Yeah.
And then ROI, I'm still there. You
Yeah.
know? So I joined ROI when Triality died because despite the fact that, like, I'm talking about like Bloody Dagger, fucking Bard, fucking Questwick, all these dudes that were in Triality were my fucking homies. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially Bloody Dagger. He was like, we were really cool. Like, we were really close. He was like my raid leader in Triality, you know?
Yeah.
Before he went to ROI. I was like completely gutted when he went, you know? He like really, it really was a knife in the back, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So when it was time to go to ROI, it was almost like going home, you know what I mean? There were so many people there, and there was like, I hadn't spoken to Bloody Dagger since he left. And it was almost like a nice to like bury the hatchet and just kind of put all that shit behind us and just get back to being friends again.
Once the fight is over, usually all that bad blood just goes away, and everyone's like, "Yeah, it was actually just competition and having a good time."
Yeah,
but while you're competing, you're like, "Fuck that guy! Where's he live?"
100%. So when he left Triality, he sent me this big PM on the Triality boards, and it started off like, Q, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, maybe in life, and also definitely in EverQuest.
Yeah.
And then it just like went on to talk about how good of friends we are, but he's got to do what he's got to do, and blah 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 blah. So when he left, he had a lot of friends like that were in the guild. When he left, all his friends went with him. So we lost our two biggest DPS groups. You know what I mean? Like they went to ROI with our strats, you know, perfectly built DPS groups. Just ROI just picked them right out of our roster. So
do you know why he decided to go? I mean, I guess you know. Was there like some drama?
No drama. But he got promised the fucking, what was the dagger that used to drop off Event 2 and fucking...
Nah, dude, not for pixels.
For his pixels. He got, Kulas promised him a little dagger when he arrived, and he got it.
Oh my God. Kulas over here like the Godfather.
I know. He used to do that. But like, I mean, we never would do that. Like promise people loot just for them to come over, but it's fucking brilliant. What's one piece of loot to get all those members?
No, yeah, for sure. But I mean, like the person taking the deal, like, bitch, you're going to be in this expansion a whole year. Who cares? You're going to get it.
I know. Believe me, dude. Believe me. I know. And we, at that point in time, we were like, that was during House of Thule, and we were ahead of ROI. So Event 5 in House of Thule was bugged.
Yeah.
It was unbeatable, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And I was like determined to beat it in its unbeatable state.
Yeah.
And it was like I found a bug that like if you I forget how it goes exactly, but if you killed everything before the next wave spawned, it would bug out and go to the next wave, basically the last wave of the event, you know?
Ah.
So I was like, it was something like that where it was like you basically had to max your GPS and kill everything. There had to be no mobs up in order for the next wave to spawn. And we did that. So like we actually fucking banged on event 5 over and over and over again until we actually beat it in its unbeatable state. And then the next day, so that was going to give us, we had that lockout. So we were going to have event 6 and 7 to do when nobody else could beat 5, you know?
Mhm.
But the next day they fixed event 5 because they
Rip.
fucking hate us, dude. They hated
Yeah.
Triality.
To like
They're like,
not letting them get anything.
right. Nothing. So like the next day they patched it. And then
Okay.
everybody beat 5, and then we were in 6. ROI beat 6, and then we were all both in 7, and we were going to beat it. Mendix told people to log off without me knowing. ROI beats it. The rest is history.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
What was it like for you rating an ROI? I saw that you almost immediately were doing their news updates on the front page, right?
Yeah, that was like there was like a little deal. There was part of my sign-on bonus, my sign-ons package, you know?
My gosh,
It's
this
like
guy.
they wanted me. There was two stipulations, 3 stipulations for me to join ROI. Number 1, I had to write for the website updates. They wanted me to do their updates. Number 2, I wanted my my estate plot in the ROI guild neighborhood. It was like 101 Terminus Heights. It was Kulas's spot. And I
Ooh,
was like, I want, so he evicted himself so I could put my house there.
nice.
And the third was I had to set up their guild hall because Triality had a really dope ass guild hall that I had put together, you know. So their guild hall when I walked in was like the first room in the grand guild hall, and that was it. Everything was shoved in that first room when you come in from the lobby. They didn't even put anything in the rest of the hall. So like I had Trialities was set up with like all these parse fucking bots in separate rooms. It was like a, you know, like a banquet hall. There was like all trade skills in the main area for every trade skill. It was like all set up like that and shit. It was dope. There was like a decor around with like every epic weapon with like all this shit, like all these
Nice.
displays and stuff. It was really cool at the time, yeah. But since I left, they bastardized it. There was always people trying to throw shit in the guild hall and make it a shithole.
Yeah.
I was constantly fucking policing that place. Who
How do you
dropped
feel
this?
about-
Who put this shit here?
How do you feel about people who sell vendor trash loot to the portal vendor?
Why is that like a thing that pet peeve that people have?
Oh, and in Faceless, that's a problem we have. People rage all the time in Discord, like, why the fuck is there rat whiskers and goblin spit on the portal vendor? I just want to get my goddamn port to the buried sea.
These people. So I'll tell you how to get around that. You just got to sort by quantity.
Yeah.
Because anything that's on there in quantity, all those port gems, they're in there. They have infinite amount of them. Yeah. So I'm so used to doing that I never even knew that was a thing. I didn't know that was a pet peeve. You know.
I mean, nowadays I just search bar and type the first 3 letters of the item and boom.
Z's like it's not. I mean, it's not me. It's other people that are fucking
right. I love it. I like seeing them upset about it. You know what I mean? And other people will post a screenshot like, "Look what I just did," and they'll post all the shit they sold to them to get people riled up,
griefing people through the portal vendors. That's funny shit.
So good.
That's funny shit. Yeah, I used to. My biggest pet peeve was people just placing shit in the guild hall. You know, we used to allow people access so they could put their portal, whatever you call it, their anchors down. Right. But then we had to take it away from them, and because people would just inevitably put shit around. You know.
Yeah.
They think they're decorating shit, but hideous.
So, what's next for you? Are you going to come back?
Yeah, I mean, just every day I want to come back. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's so like every anniversary time I always pick up, I play like I play original Quarken in ROI. I always start playing and get the feeling again. And then, I usually start leveling and shit. I 3-box all the time. I'm like a manual 3-boxer. I've never touched MacroQuest.
Yeah.
And I never use ISO Boxer, whatever it's called.
IS Boxer, yep.
IS Boxer, yeah. I never used any of that shit.
Strictly old school style.
Strictly alt tab, my dude.
Yeah.
And I can run like 4 characters like that, but 3 is like nothing. It's like I've been doing it for so long that's like if I'm not playing 3 characters at once, I'm bored. You know what I mean? One character is like snooze fest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so I have to catch all those characters up when I want to play on live. I
Yeah,
have to fucking everybody's got to get gear and fucking caught up and blah blah blah. And
just such a pain in the dick.
it sucks, dude. It's like you're really behind, and EverQuest does a lot to sort of counteract that and make it easier to just to assimilate into current. But I'm you know when I'm like the ex-wife of like an NBA player when I get divorced. I'm accustomed to a certain lifestyle
Right.
with, and that's with raid gear. I
Yeah.
don't group gear, dude. Is like I can't be out there in the open world just getting my ass beat by group mobs. You know what I mean? It's a bad look. It's
Dude,
a bad look for the kid.
you should come to Mischief, man. We'll give you a character, right? You'll be in the top raid guild. You'll have all the best gear. It's the most populated EverQuest server ever.
Is it?
Yeah.
How many? What do you know? What the population is?
I don't know offhand. Well, I could tell you after the Discord after
Okay.
the recording's over. I could tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I could tell you about
That's
it.
fine.
But
We'll take it offline. But
so
does it feel like it's the most populated server ever?
to me, it does. Like we're in Secrets of Fadeware right now,
Yeah.
and there's fucking 20 guilds clearing Crystallos.
You're fucking shitting me.
Yeah, man, it's big.
That's crazy.
And that's after 2 years of attrition. You know what I mean? Because TLP servers have bad attrition. So it used to be crazy. We hit the cap in the bazaar where it's like no more traders can be up because
Wow,
there's 1,000 traders. We can't
Yeah.
have anymore.
I forgot that even happened.
Yeah.
I
We had
remember seeing
AFK
that
kick.
message back in the day when the original Bazaar, you know.
Yeah. We had
So you have
AFK
kick? Yeah.
in so if you were not doing anything for 15 minutes, you automatically got kicked until this expansion. Like this month they removed it.
Really?
Yeah. Secrets of
Shit.
Fadeware.
I'd be getting booted all the time.
So you could be in the top guild on the top server.
You sound like when I try to recruit my real life buddies to play EverQuest with me.
Yeah.
I joke around. I'm like, come on, dude. You have the number one fabled adventurer trying to get you to play EverQuest, and you're saying no. I will guide you and lead you to the promised land. You know, I talk all that fucking sore winter shit,
Yeah.
and they're just like, no. They played Warcraft, but I'm like, you don't want to taste EQ just a little bit? And they're like, no, the graphics suck. And I'm like, you play fucking Minecraft.
Right? Shut up, bitch.
Like, how fucking bad can the graphics be? Use your imagination,
Nowadays,
goddammit.
You turn on Luckland models and put on some Heroes Forge and the new zones. It looks fine anyway.
It looks different. Those Heroes Forge armor have done a lot to bring the new models that suck in. They suck so bad. I hate them.
I hate them too, yeah.
Yeah, but Heroes Forge
makes it better.
If it took them this long, would they finally salvage those fucking models? Yeah, it does make it a lot better. I still play with old models on always.
I think old models are the best.
Yeah, they have so much character. The way they move and shit, it's just like that's what I want to see. You know, the animations, animations on the new models that suck.
Yeah, they're like slow and like unnatural. Especially the Draken are the fucking worst, dude.
Yeah,
sometimes I every time an expansion comes out and there's a new race that everyone hates, I change my character to that race to trigger people. So I was like a Vashtir for a while. Now I'm a Draken, and I have to use an illusion on raids because the attack animation is so slow. I'm like, is my auto attack on, or am I being an idiot? It's just like they swing so slow.
Yeah, they do. You're right. They should speed that up. That's a simple edit in the. You could do that easy. You can up it by %.
If you get FD'd because of like some random mechanic, they like fall super slow and then like they stand up real slow.
Yeah, I've never played one, but like so I've never like had these issues like popped into my brain. But now that you're saying it, it's like yeah, that would suck. Yeah. So the old models in Lukeland. So I actually I went to school for animation, and when those models came out, I was like, you know, whoever did them centered their gravity and their like point of like they put all their weight on their feet. So if you watch, that's what's wrong with them. That's the unnatural issue with those new character models. Is that they're not, their center mass is not in their chest or whatever, you know what I mean? Right. But like, you know, it's like on their feet. So if you watch when they're swinging, their feet are planted fucking on the ground like they're rooted, you know what I mean?
Right. The rest of them is just like a weird ragdoll kind of thing.
Yeah, they have this like twisting, hitting motion. It's just like, oh God, I can't even watch it. I can't watch my fucking big badass barbarian fucking swinging like
yeah.
It's fucking tough. It's tough to watch.
Yeah. Oh, but, hey, really quick, tell us about your sword and your trail mix.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think some people are confused about how that all happened. There's something on Alakazam's about it being like
nice.
Being like, oh, this guy fucking, you know, You got like some nepotism or something that
It was
got
your
me this
video,
item.
right?
It was, yeah. So they had like it was in 2008 or 2007. It was in 2007, and it was the 8th anniversary celebrations, and they had the
So
Fabled Adventure of Video contest.
that was like the Serpent Spine was current at that time, right?
Yeah, no, it was yeah, Serpent Spine. Yeah, because no, the Buried Sea had just come out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. And you know, that was I learned a lot about video editing making that video. So I had done some raid videos up to that point, like the Triality versus, Ashen Gate, and I did Trialities versus Frost Crypt. And I was learning video editing there. I was always into like graphic design and like photoshopping shit, but like I
Yeah.
just sort of dabbling into video. And I had an idea in my head of what I wanted to do, which was like I wanted a storyline, vague storyline about what you do in EverQuest. You make a character, you meet other characters, you go on adventures. The end.
Right.
So it was like that was the guidelines they had for the video contest was like you need a video that shows the spirit of EverQuest. So you had to capture something that was like, and it's hard to do with characters that only pantomime. They don't talk, they don't dialogue, they have very limited animation. You know what I mean? So it's like really
Right.
hard to how do you tell a story with that? So I had recorded what I thought in my head, like I kind of storyboarded out like a basic thing, and it was actually my girlfriend at the time who helped me do it. My now ex-wife was I quickly realized, well, I want to have all these characters in this video, but I'm going to need a cameraman. So I was ended up boxing. Like she was playing characters, I was playing characters. One was always a cameraman, and then it was like me, and then my cleric Kilala, and then my shaman Scryrus, and then her character, which is like Gentoo, was like a necromancer, and then I'd have to get somebody else to be a cameraman, like one of my buddies or something, use their character, and then you have to like set all these characters in motion. Like I said, using just Alt Tab,
Dang.
get them walking in sync or something, then like Alt Tab, and like and get to the Fraps guy and record it on Fraps. And Fraps is funny. If you Alt Tab off the screen in Fraps, it stops recording.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can set the camera and then go and set everybody in motion. You have to do everything first and then go record it. So I did the first draft of the movie was like up. If you watch the video, it's called The Journey Through Time. It's on YouTube.
Yep.
If you watch it, I did the first draft up to the point where like the first character, the barbarian, meets the dark elf in the in Lava Storm. And I watched it, and it was fucking god awful. Like it just looked like a like a middle schooler's video project, like attempt at a movie.
Right.
So in that in that very scene, right when they're in Lava Storm, there's a shot where the barbarian dude waves his hand,
Yeah.
to be like, "Hey, what's up?" at the dark elf, and that was a scene that like I learned how like movies, how shot for shots work, and it's like he raises his hand. You have to see the continuity in the next shot from her perspective. So I would like shoot at like him waving, arm down, and then the next shot from her perspective. So it looked really janky. There was no
Yeah.
fluidity. So I quickly saw the first draft and I was like, this looks like shit. And it just clicked right away, like because you've been watching movies your whole life, so you realize what's missing.
Right.
So like I shot another version, and that's the version you see. That's what ended up being the final movie. Was like like I'd always have like an action leading into another shot like of the same scene,
Right.
just to make it look like it flows a little more. It's stuff you don't even pay attention to, but if you try to make a movie, you just quickly realize, oh shit, this is how they actually do it.
Right.
And as I was like introducing the characters, I was like sort of writing the story. Like, all right, we got a cleric comes in. What's they gonna do? Are they gonna resurrect somebody? And like you have to like try to do it with these fucking emotes, man. It was like hard to, try to get the story across and all this shit.
Right.
And then I did these video transitions where I'd go like from expansion to expansion where, we're in Connark. So I'll just use the warrior for an example, which was my warrior. But I was like wearing all cobalt armor using my epics, and then would fade into Velius, and then it would be like him wearing like warlord's armor with a primal and a fucking separate destruction or whatever, and then it was like this fading overlay, if you remember, and in order to do that, it was as janky as you can imagine. So I'd have to get the shot lined up, and then I'd use pieces of the interface to to mark where the character was. So I'd be like, I take like my target window and put it on the top of his head, and I'd be like, all right, the head's here. And I take like something else and put it on his shoulders, and be like, all right, his shoulders have to hit this point in the UI,
Nice.
So I do it like that, and then I do the shot, and then I'd run, change my armor and everything, go to another zone and stuff, and I keep my UI the same, and then go there and load it up, square it up, and then I did a screen test for that where I was like standing in one spot with armor and without armor, and then I was like putting armor on one piece at a time, and I was like clapping. And it was like
Nice.
it was dope. It looked like his armor just like fell upon him, like it came out of like the ether.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was like, oh fuck, that's gonna work. That's gonna look sick.
It
So I
sounds
ended up
almost like claymation where you have to do like one frame and then move it a
yes,
little bit and then
very much like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just like told the basic story, but my biggest I'm like my own worst critic, so I thought the video was shit. I put all this time into it. It was like so hard to do. By the time we were done, like the last scene is like us in Frostcrypt, and like we're like wiping, it's like just cool footage, but like we're actually getting our asses fucking beat in there. And my ex-wife at the time, she was like fucking bullshit. She's like, I'm done with this fucking video. We've been working on it for like a week, you know what I mean? I was like, I need one more shot of us on a boat, like going to this island in the new expansion. He's like, fine. So we get on the boat, and like the boat's lagging. I got like 5 characters on different computers, all like lagged out. They're falling off the fucking boat into the ocean. She was like, I'm literally fucking done with this. She was a trooper, like she did the whole thing with me, but she was just like, I'm fucking over it. So I got the last shot on the island, and I remember that night I went to 7-Eleven right after that to get like cigarettes and Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, I would go, what if I win this thing? Like, I was like, for a second, I was like, that video came out pretty dope. Like, I like watching it. And usually, I don't like my own shit. And I sent it in, and the next day, we had Kella was a member in our guild, and she had in with the developers or whatever, and she was like, they're passing your fucking video around the fucking office at Sony. Nice. They love it, and I was just like, oh shit, I think I'm gonna win this thing. And the grand prize was an item named after you.
Yeah.
Plus, everybody got food named after them. So there's like this dude Rediva had like a drink named after him, and somebody else I forget. But so that's what the trail rations were, just part of that package of victory. And the item was not specified what item it was going to be, right? So people were they were like they heard my feedback. They were like, what do you want for like an item? I couldn't pick it, but they were like, what do you have in mind? And I was like, I'd like a sword, I'm like a warrior. So I thought it was fitting to like, every good warrior has like a sword named after him, you know what I mean? Like Excalibur or something, or like a sword with a name,
Yeah.
So I picked the name out, and I like gave it some lore. Like, I tried to be like if I was building like a D&D character or something, and like, and I knew what I wanted for a graphic. Like I knew I wanted that purple swords that the Giants had in Frostcrypt.
Right.
So I was like, I built the name around that, and then they just gave me, there was the same stats as the short sword of magma from Salteris at the time,
which was the best sword at the time, right?
Yeah, and they added like 1 damage to it and some heroics maybe. And then they actually said they were going to update the sword every expansion to match, like to be that for the best warrior sword. So the next expansion they did change the stats, and that was it, which I think was in Seeds. I think it had the same stats as whatever the next warrior only sword was.
I mean, probably just upgrading it the one time was surprising to you, right?
I was shocked, dude, shocked. And when they upgraded it, the first time I had to click, it had the breath of Antragus, not breath. I don't know. It was the same click as the warrior breastplate, which was like 1,000 point heal.
Oh yeah.
They made it like a 3,000 point heal.
Yeah.
And I was like, when they upgraded the stats, I go, can you get rid of that effect? Like, and they're like, what do you want in there instead? And I was like, just invisibility. If you put like instant, and everybody,
like, what?
Dude, the liaison who was going between the devs, they were like, why would you want that? And the developers were like, are you sure? Are you sure you want that, dude? You can have, a heal, or you're a warrior. Don't you want a heal? Do you want a rune? Do you want something? And I was like, no, I want instant invisibility. They saw no value in it. You know? Now, if you've noticed, they would not put it. There's literally like a bullet point to never put an instant invisibility item in the game ever again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's potions in my sword, and they even nerfed the fucking circle of the shadow. To not be
Yeah.
instant.
It's got to be consumable or charged now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have a cooldown. It's like a 15-second cooldown, but that's
I
it.
mean, when do you have to cast Invis? You know what I mean? More
It's
than one time in
it's been
15
like
seconds.
twice maybe in my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
But I love it because I knew eventually that it would just be an item. This is before items were placeable in houses, even, right? So I
Right.
knew it was just going to sit in my bank forever
Right.
unless I didn't make it an everyday item. So I
Yeah.
was like, what do I use every day? Invisibility all the time. So I was like, I'll always have it on me. I'll always be using it, at least from inventory. I'll always appreciate it. And I fucking love the thing. It's like my favorite. Like, it's just I appreciate it. I do not take it for granted. It's like one of my favorite things in the whole world.
That's super cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I'm proud of it.
So do you keep some trail rations on you at all times too?
I usually do it to hand them out like a fucking corny, like
It's like your
like
business card.
Dwight Eisenhower handed out his "I like Ike" buttons. I hand
Right.
out my fucking trail rations.
That's so
So
funny.
often people will come up to me in game and they'll be like, "Your name's super familiar. Like I think I played with you before." This happens all the time.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, dude, it's just you have my food in your inventory probably. And then I show them like, oh, that's what it is. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
That was like, I guess that sort of got me some notoriety. That before that it was funny. It was like we didn't really touch on it that much, but the when I soloed Nagafen and Vox with my monk, that that was like the first time I got some like notoriety, some like real attention on me. But it
Yeah.
was like through my fucking all, you know what I mean? Like
Right. Techno Destructo.
Techno was like the one who who got like all and I thought that was my 15 minutes of fame in EverQuest at the time.
I remember looking at Techno's Magello and being like, dude, this level 52 monk has the fucking DODH mask. Like he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
stacked.
It's that earring, that Spirit Light earring was the sell for me because I could get had a slot 3 augment slot on it, so I could put like a flying kick mod on it and shit.
Oh
So
shit.
I
Okay.
fucking got him the max void flagged even
Mm,
just so I could get the best flying kick aug to go in his stupid ear. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I just like so I've taken that character to lengths to just be like, what's the best thing available to a level 52? When I
Yeah.
killed Maggie and Vox with him, he was like, when I sold them, his gear was like shit compared to what it is now. Now it's like
Oh,
when I fight them, it's like a 3-minute fight, no heals
really?
needed. Yeah, I just
What
run
do
right
you
through
think
them.
would be so if you wanted to ramp it up, like could you kill Sev or Talendor?
Yeah, I wonder. So people were saying that after I did Nagi and Vox, they were like, "Oh, dude, go solo fucking Severus or Talendor or something." And I was like, well, I mean, there's no point in soloing with a level 52. At the time, it would be impossible to solo them with a level 60. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like in that era, it would be like hard or whatever the max cap was, which was like probably 60 or 65. So I was like, well, I have a level 65 character that couldn't solo them. This 52 monk certainly isn't going to. But now I've like sort of like been like, I should just take Techno on some adventures and see how fucking high can I go with this little dude? You know
Right.
what
You
I
got to
mean?
ride the lightning a little bit.
Yeah, can I kill Veneral Sathir maybe? He's
Maybe.
he's got like 16,000 hit points or something, right?
Yeah, he's low HP. You could maybe do the Veneral Sathir that spawns from VSR because he's
Yeah.
a little bit weaker.
Was his life tap not as bad?
His life tap isn't as frequent.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
that life tap is a motherfucker.
Yeah. It'd be
We used
tough.
to use like the cast message I remember on that one. So you feel it tugging at your soul.
Yeah.
Because we used to joke and be like, you feel it tugging at your pants. Every time
Yeah.
that thing would come on, you just get fucked. Everybody's dead.
Right.
Burned
He
into
used to
my
be a big
brain.
thing that like when it was contested and another guild had engaged him first, you just taunt him and turn him on their raid and he just life tap like 50 times off the repost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many times. He was a hard fight back in the day.
Yeah.
When we used to fight him back in Vazaelle, like he would just like we'd have him down at 25% and be like right back to 100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he felt unbeatable to me. That was the first raid I did where I was like, how the fuck do people kill this shit?
Yeah.
I was with the Endless and I was like, how did they make these fights impossible? You know what I mean? That's what I
Right.
thought. But Tracken on the same thing. He was like another one who
Track is fucking hard, man.
Track
He's
is not an easy dragon. Yeah.
he's really hard now on TLP servers because
Yeah.
that they have this buff mitigation on the mighty.
Sure do.
Yeah, so Dude, Track's life tap fucks you up even at 60. Like basically tanks have to change how they play. Like you go like full MR gear and you can resist the life tap.
Really?
Otherwise it could be a bumpy ride because his damage is just so spiky with the life tap proc, his hits, and working that poison AE in there.
Yeah, and that
It's just crazy.
teleport, he still does that, right?
Not what he does, but fuck it. Like we pull Tracking on to the banish point. So he
That's
teleports you and you're
so
right there.
You Dane him, you Dane
Yeah,
Frost Reaver him.
exactly the same thing. It sucks a lot more pulling Track there, but yeah.
Yeah, but it negates that whole bullshit.
Right, takes the whole thing out. Now, if you fight the fabled Trachodon
Hmm?
in an instance, like in an AOC or whatever, he ports you to the open world zone. So he's like impossible. He's not impossible, but he's really hard to kill. The
So
fabled
like,
version.
oh my god, that's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
They
Literally
couldn't
get
fix
banished to
that.
another zone. I'm sure they could, but like
That's
I don't
not
know if anyone
intentional.
reported it, you know.
That's an oversight. That's not intentional, I'm sure.
There's so many bugs where I encounter it and I'm like, I would like this to be fixed, but I don't want to fix it enough for me to take the time to post it on the forums.
Yeah,
So fuck
definitely.
it.
Plus, those kind of bugs would be at the bottom of the scratch list, you know,
Oh yeah, definitely.
where the Fable Trachodon teleports you.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to the bottom of the pile.
Yes.
he's a mob for fucking 1 month out of the year, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's killing him.
So did you guys do Vishant's Peak back in those early days?
So that's a good question, dude. It's funny, like on Vazaelle, like, you know, that came out in December 22nd, 2000, right when Velius was about to be released.
Right. So
And
do you even bother doing that whole key quest when you know the loot's gonna suck?
fuck no. I think In Virtue did the key. I think they did Vishan's Peak as like a novelty.
Mm.
So I did Vishan's Peak when I was in Promethean Order. We were, you know, in Planes of Power at that point. And we did it as a novelty because so many people had never seen Vishan's Peak, including
It's a cool
myself.
zone. Yeah.
Wicked cool. The original version. Oh, and I'll tell you something else. This is a funny EQ story, just for historic purposes.
Yeah.
So one time in like 2007, I get a tell from Dalmoth, and he's like, "You have a VP key?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "The original one?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get to VP real quick." I was like, "Okay." So I go to VP. He goes, "They accidentally patched live VP over." This is after VP had been nerfed.
Yeah.
Right? They patched the old zone with everything in it. If you use the old VP key, you clicked in, and now you're in the original VP with the items that originally dropped that no longer drop in the game. So me and Downoff fucking ran through VP and got all these items that, like, I got a what's that robe that like warriors can wear?
Robe of the Azure Sky.
Yeah, the OG one. So I ended up getting that well after VP had been nerfed. But yeah, they patched that whole thing live.
Now they put all that shit on Elder Ekron in the revamped zone, so you still have a way to get it.
Yeah, there's so in the revamped zone, I actually spent some time in there when housing came out. I wanted that Spirit of Wolf dagger.
Oh yeah,
and all those little minis. Yeah, all those minis that are like in the hallway.
Yeah.
If you kill them enough, you'll find out they all drop. So I actually updated the Alakazam's website with all the info from these new drop sources because it wasn't recorded there. But like Elder Akron and I can't think of the other ones, but they all drop older shit.
Yeah.
You know, if you kill them. I ended up getting, because people were like, "Oh, this doesn't drop since the revamp."
Yeah.
They had like a newer version of it or something.
The aged, they just put aged in front of each one, but
you got it.
Know, the loot still sucked when it came out, so no one ever got a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a weird zone. The zone is fucking difficult as shit.
Oh yeah,
but they have those like wandering worms that respawn in like a minute and shit. I mean, it was when we did it in Planes of Power, it was hard. That was a hard fight. And I remember like wiping to the hallway mobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the trash is real, dude. It all dispels you and shit too. Like Hoshkar, like some of the fights were tough too, especially in Era Hoshkar, man. With that, he's got the Gornair slow, but it's a disease slow, and just beats you up.
Remember when do you remember when Severus used to drop when he dropped Green Dragon Scales as the only source?
Yeah,
I remember there was like a patch message where they were like, "Hey, this is typical Sony, right? Or Variant." They're like, "Hey guys, we heard your complaints, and there's another source for Green Dragon Scales in the game. You're welcome."
Right.
And everybody's like, "What is it?" I remember logging in that day. They were like, "Oh, it's the fucking seahorses around Finney." We're like, "Oh, sweet. We thought we were gonna get all these green dragon. Yeah, who knows why? But we went there to get them, right?" And then like in a couple days it comes out, it's fucking Hoshkar.
Yeah.
Not even Woshi in fucking Awakening Land or whatever. Like, that would be a reasonable. They put it in fucking Hoshgar behind that keyed fucking zone.
Right. The
I was
hardest
like,
dragon in the keyed zone with
yeah,
like the most tedious key to get in all of EverQuest.
yeah. Oh my god,
Worse than VT.
way worse than
Um,
VT.
remember
Pain
that big
soul,
room in
Coolican
VP
zone
where they
though.
have the banners and the banners have screenshots from the EverQuest opening movie with Vishan flying around and stuff?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I have that trailer saved on my computer.
Nice.
But yeah, dope. And then they do that again in TOV. They have all those screenshots
Oh
hanging on the
yeah,
wall.
yeah. TV. There's like Vox like in her lair. Like, why would there
Yeah,
be a painting of Vox in her lair? You know what I mean? Because like she's banished there. Why would they?
right. Nagafin too.
Right. Yeah.
You want to hear another cool like one-off historical EverQuest story? Since that's
One
what we're
hundred
doing here.
percent. Yeah.
When I was killing Techno, when I was with Techno killing Nagafin one time. So after I soloed Nagi and Vox with him, I had it was like a la carte. Those guys on a platter. Nobody else was killing them.
Right.
And the servers were crashing and being patched and rebooted constantly back then.
Mm.
So I was like, I must have killed them, dude, in my life, probably 500 times. Who fucking knows? But out of those 500 times, one time I was killing Nagafin and with Techno, and I was sitting there beating the shit out of him, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he starts reciting his Sleeper's Tomb script, like when Carafrim gets awakened.
What? Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was sick. I wish I still had the screenshot from it because I lost that whole era of screenshots like 2003 ish.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's all of a sudden he starts going like, Lady Vox, we'll be together, reunited once again. And I forget exactly what he says, but I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? But yeah, he started reciting his Carafrim text.
That's
I don't know
amazing.
what made him do it, but it was a cool moment. I was like screenshotting the shit out of it,
So few people have ever seen that. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
unbelievably rare.
I was just watching Level Up Larry's coverage of when Carafrim was awakened on one of the servers. And
P99 probably.
yeah, I think it was 99. And everybody goes to Sky Shrine to go watch Carafrim rampage through there.
Fight
Because it's like,
Yellonak.
yeah, and it's the biggest zone. He walks through the whole fucking thing, kills all those. And it's like, yeah, like you said, man, I mean, that's only happened how many times? Like how many EverQuest servers have they been? That's
Right. It's probably
you
been
know,
like 35, 40 at the most.
right. And most of the time nobody's ever seen it.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to see it. But I don't think anybody even knows like every location Carafrim goes to or all that happens in the entire world when that event goes down.
Right.
Who knows it is probably Rogian and those other dudes who run 99. They could probably dip in the code and check it out.
Yeah. Nilbog.
Yeah, Nilbog. There's a post somewhere on some forum somewhere that has all of Carafirm's dialogue.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
all the dialogue everybody said. Like the whole thing is typed out. But
Well, they've recently discovered new dialogue in the old zones.
really,
Yeah. This guy, one of these guys he made like 200 lines of text. Cause you know how the old school EQ, you could just say random words and some of those words were keywords and they would respond to them.
yeah,
And they weren't even always in brackets. He
right,
went to all the classic NPCs in the starting zones, all the guards and shit.
yeah.
And he just pressed a button and had it shit out all 200 lines of
Ah,
text.
what a brilliant motherfucker.
And there was some crazy stuff. Let me pull up one of them really quick, if you don't
Yeah,
mind waiting a second.
yeah. Go ahead. I'll tell you something. You pull that up to fill the airtime.
All right,
I
here we
did
go.
something. I did something similar with the Plane of Mischief cards because I don't know if I'm the only person, but I got to be. If I'm not the only person, I'm one of the only persons with a full set of Plane of Mischief cards. I actually have
Yeah,
like 2 full sets. So after I
nice.
made all that shit, I still kept like a full deck plus some.
Okay.
So do you remember when they rediscovered 3 new recipes? It was like it's the cleric mask that has the barbarian illusion on it, and
Yes.
2 other items. There's like a sword and like a 2 emblem or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they found like 3 new card combos. So I went through. I made like an Excel file, and I calculated every possible combination that doesn't produce anything yet. And I went through and I mashed every single card combination just to see, and there's nothing. But I'm
Right.
so bummed. I wanted to discover something, but there's nothing.
Damn.
Or they could be in the recipes, just not enabled. I think that's what happened with those last 3 items. I think the recipes were in the game, but they weren't enabled, and they just had to like flip them on, and then they
Right.
could produce something.
Yeah.
Do you have it there? Do you find
I
it?
do. I do. So this is from shout out to El Raz, great dude who did all this hard work. But do you know what tuner boss is?
No.
Okay, so apparently in EQ lore, there was an ancient tree on Antonica, and supposedly all the forests in Norath came from this tree.
Okay.
Something destroyed it. They don't know what. It was called Tunarbos, Tunarbos.
Okay.
And it's like mentioned 2 times. If you do like the nitrates in the assassin quest, they
Yeah.
mention the unkept druids keep like burnt wood to represent that tree or something.
No
And
shit.
then this guy goes up to Crystal Aspen and says, "Who is the great tuner boss?" And she just randomly like responds and says, "Long ago, centuries before the Combine era even, there grew a great tree upon Norath. It stretched to the stars and was as wide as the span of Erud's crossing. From the roots of this tree sprung all the woodlands of Norath. An unknown force struck it down. Some say it was the great dragon Vishan. Whatever the force, the great tuner boss was shattered, lost forever. Now the wood chips lie scattered across the face of Norath. To hold a shard of the great tuner boss is to hold the hand of Tunair."
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. And there's like 100 other things in this list that are kind of like that.
Where is that?
It's on the Al Kabor Project forums now. If you want to,
Okay.
I'll send you the link after this. But I mean,
Is
it's
that the
really
Mac?
incredible.
Is that the Mac fucking recreation for the Mac server?
Yes,
Alkabor?
it is. Yep.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was like, I really wanted to play in that server before they took it down, because it was the only place that the original Plane of Mischief still existed.
Well, I mean, they rebuilt it pretty well with that project. It's like 100% good. They released the database. It's open source now.
Sick.
I
So
just
it's like
started
basically like P99 with Planes of Power and
right,
stuff in it. Yeah.
exactly that. So I just started streaming on there because it has the original Stone UI, like, and
Oh yeah.
it's older than the Titanium client. You can actually connect to it with a Trilogy client. So you're just like, it's exactly the EverQuest that you remember when you were a kid, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Not that you remember when you were a kid.
Yeah, 9 years old.
So wait, it has the old Stone UI, like the
Mm-hmm.
640 by 480 UI still?
Yes, like I've been streaming it in 640 and I stretch it like through some bullshit and then I stream it at 1440p. But what I
No
see,
shit.
yeah, what I see is 640. So like I walk out into the North Canos newbie yard and the draw distance is cut down so low that I'm like, I turn around and I can't see anything in any direction except for trees and rats. You know what I mean? It
I
is
do know what you mean, yeah.
exactly like what you remember. It's got the real darkness and everything.
What do you mean the real darkness?
Like, remember how when you were a human you couldn't see shit?
Yes.
It's really like that. You know how P99 they tried to recreate it, but remember on P99 they recreated it using advanced light. So when you would go into high keep, you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like I can't see anything. I'm blind
Yeah.
because it's so
Right.
bright.
Yes.
This has the real deal. Like it's truly the darkness exactly as you remember it.
Do you know, bro? I was just thinking about this. I didn't know about that, but I was just looking at the screenshots I posted last night, and it was that screenshot of me putting a cobalt breastplate in the trade window.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what zone I was in, and I was
high
like,
keep?
and while I was looking at the little picture on the side, you know what I mean, of the old
Yeah.
UI, and like there was a little spot above the inventory window, and I was in Ceballos, but I was like looking at the lighting in there, and I'm like, I think that they changed the lighting in the way that it in the old lighting in original EverQuest. I was thinking I had this whole thought today, was sick as fuck. It had like a coloring gradient to it that was like really dope. But I bet when, these guys, these developers who make the game, like new technology comes out, they just switch to that and they're like blown away by it because it looks cool. But when time kind of goes down and you put the two next to each other, it's the original lighting actually look cooler.
Oh yeah,
different technology. Maybe it doesn't work in the new DirectX. I don't know how to make it work or whatever, what the technicalities are. But I remember lighting in EverQuest looking so sick, like the coloring and like Najena and shit like that.
Dude, look at your Plane of Fear pictures that you posted the other day, right? Like, look how part of why EverQuest was scary is because you could not see everything.
Yes.
Like nowadays, you can go into Plane of Fear, sit on the west wall, and besides like trees being in your way, you can see all the way to the east wall.
Yeah, you're right.
Back in the day, there was like a red wall, you know what I mean? Just of like fog.
Yes, your clip plane was not as robust as it is now. Right. I can remember hunting the ancient Cyclops in South Row, and I remember putting my clip plane up all the way, and it it showed you like more of the zone. But you're right, like in the distance, it would eventually chop up, it would just fade out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you'd have to run around the whole zone to make sure that you didn't miss them. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't just sit in the middle of the zone and literally see every zone wall, like from the fucking grass to the fucking canyon. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I
Yeah.
miss that, dude. I miss that a lot.
TACP has that. It's got that same
That's the
thing.
Alcabor.
Yeah, the Alcabor project. It feels it's really awesome. Now here's the kick in the pants.
Yeah.
When we played EQ back in the day, there was no mouse scroll. So you're like pretty much stuck with first person on TACP, which I'm cool with. I like it, but
Yeah.
I am really used to like you get on EverQuest. First thing you do is scroll backwards on your mouse wheel, and
Yep.
you have that nice third person view.
Yeah.
None of that shit exists. You're like back in the old day, like you got your
Shit.
little box.
My dude, you just I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So now I'm so accustomed to playing, and you're right. I log in and I'm constantly scrolling first, third, depending on what I'm doing. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Or you
part of
like
my movement system. You know?
you like left click, hold it down, and rotate your camera around and see all this shit. That doesn't
Yep.
work. Can't do that.
So I used to map my camera button. Okay, so remember I was telling you about Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight?
Yeah, yeah,
So back then in that game, your camera for your first person, third person view was F1.
yeah.
So I remapped when I started playing EQ. I remapped all my keys to be Jedi Knight keys, the same keys, you know.
Ah,
So like F4 used to be like the back to heal yourself, you know. So I
yep,
changed that. F4 is like nearest NPC, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so I just use the same keys that I used then because that's what I was accustomed to. So you're fucking right. And if you go and look at some of my screenshots, you see a lot of them from above, like overhead view. If you've noticed,
yeah,
it'll be like me. So back in the day, you couldn't tell how, you know, the big thing, like when you before you had proc weapons and shit, your proximity to the enemy was paramount to how who he was going to attack.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you had to be as close as you could to an NPC, and I figured out like above camera view is what gets you the so you know how close you are. You know, you couldn't tell in first person
Right. You're just like
or
all
third
smushed
person.
up. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm like, you can in above camera view, you can get right up on that motherfucker. So
yeah,
a lot of my screenshots, like when I'm fighting something, you'll be from above, you know. But
yeah. I
you're
haven't
right. Like
noticed that.
I remember hitting that F1 key, like click, 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 like 3 times to get to that view or whatever.
Yep.
And I used to cycle through it like that. Oh, I forgot about that, man. Is it like an Alcabor? Is it like 2 bags open only at a time and all that shit?
I haven't tried to open. I'm playing like permadeath, and I can only like get items myself. So I
I
haven't
saw
even
that.
acquired 3 bags yet. You know what I mean? Like struggling out here.
Yeah, permadeath is hard enough, dude. You're really gonna make it so you can't be handed items?
Yeah. Nope.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's like 2 big challenges in one.
Yeah, and I'm playing a necro, so it's a little bit easier. I used to do it as a paladin. That shit's
Yeah,
hard. Paladins are
per-
like not built for that.
yeah. At least you have feign death. I guess
Yeah.
monk and necro. You think they're the best for permadeath?
Monk sucks because they just don't have the abilities. Like they won't die, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But Necro's definitely the best. After
yeah.
Necro, I would say Mage, Enchanter, Shaman, all the
SK, no.
casters.
Yeah,
SK's good, yeah, because their nukes are worthwhile and they have Feign Death, so that's pretty
hmm
good.
yeah.
Cleric is surprisingly strong.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. If you go the undead route, their nukes are
No.
just
Yeah, yeah. The mana ratio to those nukes is fucking
powerful, and they wear
cash.
plate. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try. I saw that, and I also saw your 8 hour, like 1 through 50 marathon. Did
oh,
you make it?
that was a 20. What did we do? We did like 25 or 28 hours for Oakwind.
Yeah.
No,
Is that what that was?
yeah. Every time a new server comes out, I stream like a 1 through 50 rush.
Yeah.
Normally I win. I'm like my group is the first one to 50. This time, one of my buddies won, Cagadin. I did an interview with him earlier in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of the, if not the best levelers in EverQuest right now. So
Really?
no shame to
What's
lose to him.
He's got a lot of methods like that. Does he keep them to himself, or is he just efficient?
He's just super efficient. When we did a group together a couple servers ago, and there
Yeah.
was not even a group within like 4 or 6 hours to us.
No
Like
shit.
we got the first 50, then we went to sleep. We woke up and there was no other 50s.
No shit.
Yeah, it
And
was
people were
insane.
pushing for it.
Yeah,
People were trying to
people
make
were
run for
going.
it.
Yeah, it was like a competitive server.
I love it.
Actually, we got the server first 50. Then we went as a 6-man group and got the server first Finny kill, and that was Finny with mitigation of the mighty, and we had no tank.
Oh fuck! Really?
Yeah. So what we did, dude, was
Charmer, Cold Spine, Seahorse.
no man, because mitigation of the mighty mobs will not fight pets; they'll just ignore them.
Oh no
So
shit.
what we remembered was Finny, one, can be stunned, and two, he could be mezzed.
All
So
right.
we pulled him up.
I didn't know that.
We got him. We mezzed him, and we parked all of our pets right next to him. and we had 2 enchanters and 3 mages, and I would count 1, 2, 3, nuke, and as soon as the nuke button went off, the enchanters started casting Mez. So Finny would get hit, Mez would break, and he would get instantly re-Mez.
That is sick.
It took us 30 minutes, and then we killed him, and they patched it so he can no longer be Mezed.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, love it.
But when I was streaming that, dude, I had 815 people watching me.
I bet. That's fucking great, dude.
That shit got nerfed quick.
Oh my God, fucking salute to you. That is a great method.
We knew conceptually, it was one of those things where like, this on paper should work, but who knows if that shit will work in reality.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of my favorite EQ memories, you know what I mean, to have done it.
That's a great dude. An 850 on a stream too.
Yeah.
That's fucking wonderful.
Yeah,
that was how the Nagavan and Vox solo came to be. It was one of those things that was on paper. So we used to do these. I used to lead these little level like twink raids on Vox for res sticks when I was in Promethean Order.
Yeah.
And I would twink Techno out, and I was like noticing he was like, starting to become a little badass.
Right.
And then I had a buddy who played a cleric, and I was like, hey, bind in here, and like I'll like after everybody left. We went the next week, just the two of us. And I was like, I just want to see if I can last 10 seconds against Vox. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then, and I was like, and if you can complete heal me, you should have enough time to like gate back, get another complete heal rolling, hit me, rinse, repeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he did, and it worked. And then I was like, oh shit. So how much damage am I taking? I started calculating it. And I was like, just so happened we were killing the Avatar of War around that time. Like it was our first AOW kills. And some shaman was like, hey, this buff is a little bit better than Brell's, and it was the stinging war potions.
Oh,
and it put a 300 hit point buff on you, but also healed the difference. So it didn't just give you 300 hit points and not fill it in. It would fill it in. So if you already had the buff on you when you hit it, it's just a 300 hit point heal.
Right.
And I was like, bing, it just like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, some obscure fucking potion. I was starting to save prayers of life and blade stoppers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the shit from these Nagavan kills to heal myself. But when that stinging war thing, it just coincidentally so then I was like, all you need to make those is like ice giant toes and some other viable shit.
Way easier, yeah.
And ice giant toes can be a bitch to farm, you know what I mean? Because ice giants, their respawn sucks. So I just found everybody that was killing ice giants on Vazaelle at the time, like, a couple druids soloing, like one mob, and like some shaman. And I was like, just sell me all your toes, and then I had some shaman making me the potions. And he figured out, I was like really hush hush about it, because I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, if I thought of it, somebody else surely has thought of it. So as soon as I had the idea, I was like, I'm gonna lose
now
this
it's a race.
Yeah, it was a race against nobody. You know what I mean? Because I think somebody else is gonna discover it.
Yeah.
And this dude who was making me, I didn't want anybody in my guild making me the potions because I was afraid they would know what I was up to. Because I had this like shaman dude. I wish I could remember his name, but he would we'd meet at like Stern Bear Jumper, whoever the NPC's name is, out in the middle of Everfrost, and the tundra, and he'd like give me all the potions and shit, and then the last day before I was about to do it, he goes, "You're gonna go solo one of these fucking Vox, aren't you?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" He like figured it out,
Yeah.
And I was like, "No."
Of course, I just need 500 of these potions. Shut up.
I need 10 bags of 10 charge fucking stinging war potions for life.
Right.
Forever. But yeah, he figured it out, and I was like, "Shh, don't tell anybody, dude."
I'm just about to grind some polar bears down there, man. No big deal.
Yeah, right. I want to get that sick bear pit experience.
Yeah.
Sick bear pit XP. But that's funny. So in the other thing you reminded me of when you talk about that Finny kill was on paper, these things that you come up with, and you're like, and this is why I love EverQuest, because of its limitations and challenges. Like, you can, I just love that Finny thing that you just said is like, I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love about EverQuest is like when you can, all these spells that are available to you in the database, the way the NPCs behave, all these abilities, you can come up with some pretty wild shit after a while. You stare at this game long enough. So when the Old Man Mackenzie missions came out, and you get those monster missions where you go back and fight Nagafen or whatever.
Yeah.
I ended up soloing Nagafen there with those stupid monster model. I didn't solo it. I was like 3-boxed it.
Right.
So I did it with, did I 2-box it or 3-box? I think I 3-boxed it. Basically, all I did is I played 2 enchanters and a cleric. That's it.
Right.
And then I charm fire giants with these enchanters, and
You just
then
roll CHs on the giants.
no, not even, because then you would get immediately summoned and killed by the cleric would.
Oh
So
yeah.
as soon as you got as soon as a PC gets on his aggro list, he summons, and then the plan is. So what I would do is I would send one in, just one, and let him beat it down till about 25%. Then I would send in the other pet. Now, if you
Mhm.
sent in a third pet, he would start summoning PCs for some reason.
Hmm.
So it's a 2-pet limit. So basically, I
Interesting.
would send one in, let it get down to 25%, then send the other guy in to get his attention, then uncharm that dude, let him come running back, charm him, complete heal him when he's off aggro. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yep.
then rinse, repeat. And I was like, single 3-boxing the mission like constantly, and I got all the clickies from it and shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you needed 13 people to you needed 13 players in the task to zone in or to loot the chest. That's what it was. So they figured out either if I or some other people were doing shit like this,
Hmm.
and they made it so you had to have 2 full groups or more, like 13 people.
That kind of sucks. Yeah.
So loot the fucking chest, so you could kill them, but you couldn't get the loot. So then I would literally be boxing 13 characters in the
Nice.
task. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
just to go loot the chest, it was a bitch. Same thing when I had to kill, like, when I was boxing like Aoni Row with the
Hmm.
fetters and shit.
Oh
I'd be
god,
like,
that's the worst mechanic ever.
the worst mechanic ever, dude. Worst. And
Yep.
I'd be boxing fucking like 20 characters or
Yep.
whatever the max like cycle results to, 10 characters or whatever.
Every expansion has to have at least one really shit fight, like Warden Hanvar, where you're just standing there waiting, or like Breakneck, dude, fuck that
Oh,
fight.
fuck that fight and its fucking broken neck.
Yeah.
It's usually event 6s that I made a
Yeah.
whole write up about event 6s. They cannot get an event 6 right.
Right.
I used to say, I like wrote like, just make a 5 event end zone, because you guys fucking get to an event 6 and you eat your shit.
Yeah.
Everyone's bugged.
Yeah. Seriously.
You know?
Is
You
that the
look
one
back,
Abzor gets every time?
probably.
Right. All right, man. This
Probably.
this has been really awesome. Where can people find you if they want to check out more of your content?
Yeah. So if you go to my Instagram, which is like Quarken's EverQuest screenshots, you'll find it.
And I'll put the link in our description here too, so people can just click that and check it out.
Nice, bro. And on there, I have a link in my bio that links to most of my EverQuest stuff.
Okay.
It's like spread out around the web. So I'll tell you, like, that's where you can find like my stuff. And I stream every once in a while, but I announce it on Instagram when I stream. So
Okay.
I haven't been streaming much. I used to stream more. I'm going to be streaming again.
Sweet.
I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I might pick it up, my 189 episode adventure, and pick it up from level 50 and keep it going now.
Yeah,
Season
or
2.
start the even more excellent adventure on TAC P with that Stone UI.
I know. That is fucking, that is intriguing. That's tempting. But the last thing I want to say is I got a podcast that's coming out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it's talking about most of the stuff we talked about today, just like a little more detail.
Okay.
And it's really going through the Instagram page with these screenshots and sort of like retelling a lot of these like memories I have, because the Instagram write up is like limited to 2,200 characters. That's why you got to
read like 10 comments.
Yeah. I fucking hate it. So I'm just gonna get like a little audio, and there's a video component that goes with it too. So it'll, like, if you've never played EverQuest before, you'll be able to sort of follow along and see what I'm talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's called Quarken Tells You, and it's and I got the intro video of the intro down and everything. It's pretty. I've been wanting to release it, but I'm waiting, until the time is right.
Okay.
But so that's what you can expect from me next, I should say.
I'm super excited for it, man. I can't wait.
Thanks, brother. And this has been great, dude, talking to you. I mean, you're a treasure to the EverQuest community, I'll say.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I mean, really, what you're doing is fucking. I was just saying this to somebody recently, and I said it to my girl tonight. I said, EverQuest, I don't know if it's because of the culture of the community or if it's the competition or whatever, but the players of the game aren't celebrated the way they should be.
Right.
And
they're not.
And the history that people have done in this game should be recorded, and it's not.
Right.
And I am a fucking fangirl of Führer and Tiggle and all those old school guild leader guys, you know what I mean? And I just feel like after their era was over, people just didn't give enough of a shit. So I feel like what you're doing is you're doing God's work, my friend.
People are forgetting this shit, man. We got to get it down.
Yeah, before it's gone forever, you know.
Yeah, we're getting old as shit, man. My knees hurt in the morning, so like that's why I was like, I gotta do this podcast because I don't know, it could be like tomorrow.
It's funny. It's like my memory sucks. I have no short-term memory anymore, but I remember all this shit. And I'm like, that's what's prompted me to do this Instagram. I'm like, I got to get these memories down before I forget them forever.
Yeah.
So along with the podcast is also, like I said, I got the link in my bio on my Instagram to all my shit. I'm gonna, like I said earlier, I'm gonna have I'm building a website right now that's gonna have everything in one spot, and it'll
Awesome.
be
Can't wait.
all things QXX, which all 10 of my fans can go and check out.
You got to
But
do
it'll be
occasional
all my
news updates, throw those shots still.
Yeah, of course. A couple shots across the front of somebody's bow. But I'll have all the
Realm.
old ones in there from ROI, Triality, techno stuff. The Instagram page will be replicated on there with no character limit and everything. And then
Perfect.
and then I'll have like the front page is already designed to be like it's got a pull from my 14,000 screenshot archive. It'll be like on this day in EverQuest and just pop up to some random screenshot.
Legacy of Steel did that with their website for a while. It's gone now, but they had like 10 years ago today in Legacy of Steel, and boom, it was their latest news post back then.
Fuck, and it's gone?
It's gone.
Dude, I can't believe I didn't even know that it was a thing.
Yeah. I forget who maintained it, but it was good. I used to love that. I'm a nameless guy, so
yeah,
I would occasionally go through and find. Remember, they used to always post the tells that they got, the haters.
Yes,
I used to find my little hate tells on there and be like, "That was me. I was 10 years old."
I did one too. I sent one to Tiggle, and I got on there, and I was like, I thought that was my 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, right.
But I used to check their updates. Yeah, I'm such a geek for that shit,
dude. When Planes of Power came out. I know we were just about to wrap it up, but I got to.
Yeah.
When Planes of Power came out, I was like 11 years old or something. And I remember spamming like Who All 65 to try to find out who's the first guy. And on Nameless, it was some ranger. I don't remember his name, but I was like, 11-year-old me, I sent him a tell. I was like, wow, you're 65. Do you have a life? And he responded to me. He's like, I'm going to think about you later when I'm fucking my girlfriend.
Is that a perfect way to sum up EverQuest and end this?
That is it in a nutshell. All right, folks. This has been a great episode. Please check out all of Quarken's stuff. It really is amazing. Come out to my stream. We're streaming regularly now, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. Come check it out. And Quarken, thank you so much, dude. This has
been my pleasure, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, bro.